Seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, welcome everyone. It's the Bustalgia experience again for another Wednesday night. Tonight it's been a double-decker on the Bhoycie bus. So we
doubling down, double-deckers,
doubling down a double-decker. So I hope you've all had your Celtic PMP fix. Welcome back on the time-travelling version of the bus. It's like I was just talking to some of you just 30 minutes ago. I imagine seeing all you here again. But the Bustalgia World Tour continues mercifully. The travel's been quite kind this week because we wanted to travel from Germany into Austria and Switzerland. So that's a bit of relief on the old petrols we had.
Absolutely.
Euro 2008. It's a tournament with no Scotland, no England, neither Ireland or Wales. It's the buff of Spanish dominance. And arguably, we'll be talking about perhaps the strongest group ever seen in tournament football. It's going to be a good one. Russell Bhoycie, my guest again tonight. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm good, my man. I am good. Euro 2008. I was in full swing, man, with my party and antics by this point. I've went from a novice, mate, the last couple of tournaments to now. I'm in full out all the time party mode. And I think I've got my flat in a place called Riverside, just outside Stirling during this tournament. I mean, I remember watching maybe about 10 minutes of this tournament if I'm lucky. And during that time, Hakan Yakin scored a double. I remember that much. And I kept going, he should have signed for Celtic. I told you he should have signed for Celtic. So that's the game that kind of actually think I remember the most for the tournament. I was lively in 2008, man. I would have been at this age 20 years old. I approached my 21st, man. I was a live wire at this point. I'm full into Tina Part mode and into rock and roll, I think I thought it was at the time. I think I was in a band and all that at this time as well, man. They were fucking shite, but in my opinion, they were brilliant at the time. Oh, great days, mate. That was like, if folk think I wear sunglasses a lot now, like that was like you slept in them at that point. Do you know what I mean? It was just nonsense, mate. Utter nonsense.
Hopefully my notes I sent you over have jogged your memory and you've had a wee look at all of the highlights of it. So that's good. But no, we'll obviously be diving into that later on once we've done our pre-match or pre-tournament stuff, should I say. Yes. But yeah, first and foremost, it's something I actually want to just quickly give a shout out to somebody, a friend of mine who I know watches the show, a mate of mine, Big Ian Fraser. His wife Alison recently finished her chemotherapy treatment after 6 weeks of it. She's on the mend now. So Alison and Ian, I know you'll be watching at some point. I don't know if you're watching live. I know he's subscribed to the channel and he does watch from time to time, and he does enjoy the Bustalgia. He mentioned to me last week about the World Cup 2006 one. So Alison, hopefully you pull through in that one. My thoughts are with you with that because when I saw it on, well, I know Ian's had a pretty rough time this year, and Alison with the post I see on Facebook and talking to him, like he was one of my friends on my FIFA league that I told you about that I played.
Yes,
big game played in that. So, yeah, he said at the start of the year that Alison was going in for treatment for a tumour that they found. So yeah, she's just finished 6 weeks of chemotherapy. So I'm pulling for you in that one, Alison. So hopefully it all goes well and there's no other complications after that. And hopefully you can put a smile on your face tonight if you're watching as well this week.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
indeed.
Everyone on the bus echoes that as well. Nice words, Phil. And all the best to you.
Yes, indeed. Now, Russell, I have been hyping this one up for a week now, talking about the trivia that we normally start with. I said this one
you have.
is a belter, mate. This one's right up your street, mate. Right up your street. Because there's no data Bhoycie tonight because this one revolves around age. This one revolves around
my
age.
favourite subject.
Right. So here we go. I'm looking for 9 answers in this one. Okay, so question is, at Euro 2008, an Austrian player named Ivan Vastic became the oldest player to score at a tournament at 38 years old and 257 days. And players that make up the top 10 oldest goal scorers in Euros history. The earliest age, this is your date range from 35 years and 63 days up to 37 years and 322 days. And you've heard of every one of these players. It's not like there's a player for like the 70s or anything. You've heard of every one of them. So I'm looking for the 9 that, along with Ivan Vastic, that make up the top 10 oldest players in Euros. I knew that your street because of age. He did. He did.
The penalty, left foot. Left foot. I didn't realise. But you know what was weird? When I was doing my homework on this, Phil, right? I was looking at Vastic after he scored the goal and they said 38 years old. I went, all right. I should know him pretty well because that's more my, even though like it should be my era then. As I say, I was, off on one. But like my era, I always think of as like, the mid 2000s are the lost tapes for me. 90s and the early 2000s was like when it was like peak football because there was no other distractions. I don't recognise Vastic, mate.
Same, mate. Vastic was one that, I mean, what clubs did he play for? Like, I'd assume he probably played in the Bundesliga for sort of mid-table Bundesliga teams or something because he never really made it to the English Premier League or anything. He never, but he pops up in this.
Interesting,
he is on the top of the oldest goal scorer list. So, yeah, he is the oldest at 38. But, yeah, it goes down to 35 years and 63 days.
I think then in that case, can I say one?
You go for it, yeah.
Same tournament, Christian Panucci.
Christian Panucci is 10th on the list. So you've got 10 and number 1. So now you need to get number 9 and number 2. So
do you know why? When you said 35 and 65 days, I was like, I know for a fact he was born in 73, Panucci. So I was like 35. And remember, he scores actually at this tournament. I don't want to the tournament yet. I know there's usually an order of play here. This is me just wrecking it all, Phil, before I depart off Bustalgia in the coming weeks. But he scores Italy's first goal of the tournament, having scored the goal that got them there against us, didn't he? I know we'll talk about that. But when I seen him score, I thought he must be a fair age by this point as well. And again, do you know what's interesting about Panucci? I don't remember him being a regular for Italy when he was at 28, 29. Do you?
No, I do not, man.
He wasn't. It was Nesta, Maldini, Cannavaro. I bet he wasn't even in some of the squads. Then they get to 34, 35, and they're like, Materazzi's a player. Panucci's a player. It's weird.
That is. But look at this guy, just rattling it off, just like, I knew that from Champ Manager. But he is 10th in the list, and Ivan Vasic's first. So you need to get from 2nd to 9th. So we'll come back to those at the end of the show. That'll be a fun one. So, let's get right into the world in 2008 and our pop culture rewind. And of course, everybody remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that other good stuff as well. Got to get that in there as well before we get into the crux of this. So, we always start with our football winners. So, Champions League this year was won by Manchester United. They beat Chelsea in a rain-soaked Russia, Moscow. The John Terry slip, the infamous story that after Cristiano Ronaldo missed his penalty, John Terry's allegedly called an audible in the penalty order wanted to take the 5th penalty to try and get the glory, and he slipped and hit the post. It's the lasting image of that that final. I remember it very, very well. But yeah, on the UEFA Cup though, I said last week I actually made a bit of an error in a way because I said that Seville beat Espanyol in the 2006 one. No. Seville did win it in 2006, but that was the Middlesbrough final. 2007 was Seville and Espanyol because Seville just won all the time. Yeah, but there's no mistake about the 2008 UEFA Cup final. Zenit St. Petersburg 2, Rangers 0. We remember it very, very well, despite it being an absolutely turgid game of football. The game will forever be remembered for what happened afterwards, Russell. For anyone that doesn't know, Russell, would you like to remind the people what happened in the post-match between Zenit and Rangers?
What actually happened was Chelsea had preempted that they were going to lose on penalties in the Champions League final the following week, so decided to go to Manchester in advance and tear up the city as a way of trying to intimidate United and maybe not beating them in the subsequent Champions League final. It was an interesting tactic by those pesky Chelsea fans. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit embarrassing. I don't think anyone really knew what to make of it. Nope. But again, I mean, you can't tar them all with the same brush, absolutely. But when I see people doing marches yesterday, like with blow-up aliens attached to them, I just don't know what to make of a lot of people who support that team. And I'm not tarring them all with the same brush. But I know everyone that was in Manchester doing that was a supporter of Rangers, and I know everyone with an alien, a blow-up alien in the back as they're playing drums yesterday, supports Rangers. So it can be a strange enemy that we seem to have. But anyway, we don't want them all picking on us or anything. But I mean, we're just giving a fact-based evidence as to why we get pickled a wee bit by the
when I saw that video yesterday in the walk with the guys with the blow-up aliens around them again, it was like context, and then I was like, you know what? I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know why or anything. Just
I thought it must have been fake, eh? I thought they were going to I thought they were going to burst into like Celtic shots or something. It was just folk like taking the piss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I think this was real, man. This was real.
But yeah, strange times. But yeah, that final will always be remembered for what happened afterwards. Because it's actually from a neutral point watching the game, for anyone around the continent that tuned in, it was a dreadful game of football from what I remember. But yeah, the big winners across the major leagues in Europe that summer were Man United won the English Premier League, Celtic won the Scottish Premier League 2008. That was the Tannadice, the night it ended on a Thursday night, didn't it? It was that one, which I'll be covering in the very first Celtic years Bustalgia, the 07-08 season.
Yes,
so that'll be
indeed.
Get my teeth into that. Real Madrid won in Spain. It was Inter Milan that won in Italy. Bayern Munich were champions in Germany. Lyon champions in France. PSV Eindhoven picked up the title in the Netherlands, and Porto won the title in Portugal. Your Ballon d'Or winners. This would be the last time somebody outside of Ronaldo and Messi would win it for a good while. Kaká won it in 2007. In 2008 was Cristiano Ronaldo, thus beginning the run of Ronaldo and Messi, just dominating it until Luka Modric picks it up in 2018.
Am I right in thinking Cristiano Ronaldo, though, wins it with Manchester United? So the ball that does starts rolling by then is actually for me, it's a Barcelona Real Madrid sort of pendulum as well. Whereas I think we also need to pay a wee bit of tribute to the fact that Ronaldo managed to win that prior to that at a different club at Manchester United. So he's won it, what is it, 6 times and Messi 7? Or is it 5
I'll
and
take
6?
a word on it because I lost track.
Whatever it is, at least one of them Ronaldo's won. I think that's where he deserves a lot of kudos. He won one. As a 22 to 20 in his age, he was 22 at the start of that season, turned 23 in the February, and did it in Manchester, and again a foreign country, not where he was brought up, where he'd been for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, we know Messi was brought up, at Barcelona. That was his school, basically. I feel like, and he won all of his at the same club. I appreciate he was there for a long time. It'd be difficult to win it elsewhere if you're not playing elsewhere. But when you look at it as an achievement, the Ballon d'Or, and you look at the domination that they both had, I always consider that domination to be a Real Madrid Barcelona thing. But when you remember 2008, Phil, in actual fact, Ronaldo won that with a third club, if you like, you know, in that. And I think that does give him strong hand in the debate as well. And I appreciate the debate will never be answered properly, right?
Yep.
Because right now Messi's doing his best to absolutely fuck it up for all his fans by what did he get, double figures last season in goals maybe for Paris Saint-Germain?
If he was lucky. Aye, he was lucky,
right? And that's the first time we've seen him in another season, you know, in another country, sorry.
Yep.
Another season. In another country. So
yeah.
that debate will continue to go on with time. And I just think, I think that fact needs to be highlighted about the Ballon d'Or thing, because yes, it was a duopoly for the next, 10 years after that, 12 years after that.
Yep.
But that's not solely just a Barcelona Real Madrid duopoly, because in actual fact, Ronaldo did it in foreign land as well, so fair play to him.
Aye, fair dues. I have to say, Man United won the league and the Champions League that year, so that's going to go a long way towards his being the running. But yeah, Ronaldo, in terms of that, I mean, the part of saying Cristiano Ronaldo's overrated, honestly, man, like, see, when it comes to the debate on that, I just say, guys, can't we just enjoy both of them? Can't we just how many Scottish League winners medals does he have last year? Yeah. Can he do it on a cold Tuesday night in Falkirk? Can he? Exactly.
Can he do it on a Sunday afternoon against Clyde?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, some players didn't manage that one.
Self-deprecation, mate. Self-deprecation.
But no, my feeling on the two is, can't we just enjoy both of them? Like, honestly, see this whole debate between who's better. I think Messi is naturally born with it, but I think Ronaldo's worked so hard to get to that level. You hear Rio Ferdinand and stuff like talking about when he was in his early 20s at Man United, he was getting like proper nutritionists and stuff like that on his team, because he wanted to prolong his career and make sure that he, was playing well into his late 30s. They talk about when he went to Juventus, he did his medical. He was like 33, 34 years old at that point. Apparently, his fitness was the equivalent of like a 21-year-old. He was like, this guy's a freak of nature, man. He really is. He's dedicated to his craft.
What I would also say, though, Phil, right, and I appreciate that you would like to just enjoy them both, but neither of them settle for that narrative.
No, they don't.
They are out to better the other as well. And I think the rivalry, a lot of the time, you have to understand, comes from source on this occasion. And it's actually the players that then condition us into having a favourite, because they are 100% competing, mate, for it.
Yep.
They're not guys that are arm in arm all the time. Well, you've had a great career, so have I. They are 100% are trying to one-upsmanship each other. So I do get what you're saying. You should be able to appreciate them both. But I actually think they've caused the divide almost a wee bit as well, because it's quite obvious that for whatever reason, it seems to drive and almost define them. Or certainly it did. Maybe not as much now, but it certainly did a lot of the time there. They were trying to constantly better each other. And I think that film was playing out in front of you, but you had to pick a side. And I actually think I blame them a lot for that as well. I think they're as bad as us.
There you go. I mean, whenever we've done Bustalgia, whenever we've got to the Ballon d'Or bit, we usually just say, this is the guy that won the first one, this is one who won it afterwards, then we move on to the next segment. We've literally spent just 5 minutes talking about it, because Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, there you go. See, the perfect example, everybody. That's what they do to you. But two phenomenal players. But we'll quickly move on to the other sports winners. So 2008, as they always start with, like, the F1 World Champion. Controversial one this. Lewis Hamilton won his first of his 7 World Championships. A very, very controversial one. He won it on the last corner of the last lap of the last race of the season, pipping Brazilian driver Felipe Massa in Brazil was where it happened. He had to finish 5th or above if Massa won the race, which Massa did. And on the second to last corner, another driver named Timo Glock, his car had an engine issue and slowed down. Lewis Hamilton overtook him, who was running 6th at the time, moved him up to 5th, and he got the 5th place that he needed. To this day, there's a lot of hardcore Felipe Massa fans that think that Timo Glock was in on some kind of big conspiracy. No, his car just packed in. It's just one of the things that happens. But yeah, very, very controversial one, that. Yeah. Who says F1's always boring? Is that Glock? Yes.
I didn't know he'd won his first Formula One championship as long ago as that either.
Yeah. He won in 2008.
I thought he'd won 7 and 10 or something. I didn't realize it was 7 and 13.
No, it was 2008. He burst on the scene in 2007, won his first title in his second full season. Then he had like a few years of barren, like no titles, nothing at all, because the car he was competing in wasn't that good. He moved to Mercedes and the Mercedes team just dominated from 2014 to
Sure.
2020, and then he finally got dispossessed of the title in 2021 from Verstappen. He did lose the 2016 title, but it was to his teammate Nico Rosberg, so Mercedes still kept that dominance. But yeah, 7 world titles, 6 of them came between 2014 and 2020, so he had a lot in quick succession there. But yeah, he's arguably, I mean, I'm not his biggest fan in terms of I don't like somebody dominating F1 because it doesn't really benefit the sport, but I cannot deny he is a phenomenal talent, absolutely phenomenal driver. So no doubt about it. You've got to recognise that. And in terms of a lot of other sports, we've got the NFL Super Bowl that year's won by the New York Giants, defeating the New England Patriots. I remember that one well because I won quite a significant wad of cash at the bookies for that one.
Good, we like that.
I put some money on the New York Giants because they were like the massive underdogs because the Patriots were an absolute machine in the NFL. And when I went to put my bet on my William Hill account online, it crashed and it refreshed a couple of times and placed my bet 4 times. Ended up placing a £10 bet 4 times. Ended up putting 40 quid on it. And the New York Giants ended up winning it in the end. I was like, yes, you fucking dancer. So getting the New York Giants, I remember that Super Bowl very, very well. What a happy accident that was. At Wimbledon, Rafael Nadal defeated Roger Federer to win the men's title. Venus Williams defeats Serena Williams, her sister.
That Wimbledon final, Phil, I don't know if you're aware, is regarded as the best tennis match of all time.
Is it now? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I did notice in your comments that I was like, he's brushed over that. He's no joined the dots of the years, or you just don't watch tennis, which is fine. But this is the one that goes, I think it was played over 3 days.
Oh, now I remember this. Now I remember that. Yeah. Okay,
so it was like the Monday night or something you were watching it, and these guys get to, I can't remember what the final sets. One, it's 15-13 or something ridiculous, or 13-11. Someone will check in the comments, I'm sure. But it was really like Nadal, who you went, fuck, this is meant to be like Ray Rogers' back garden, you know what I mean? And this guy is like, Nadal's now taking his clay form on at the grass, which made him a completely different, almost whole, a whole different dynamic on what the tournaments were, because grass, it's funny because like Djokovic is kind of a bit of an all-rounder. I don't think he's unbelievable on any. I just think he's he is unbelievable on any, but you know what I mean? Like, it was quite obvious that on grass Federer was a joke, right? Just a joke how good he was. It's quite obvious on clay, even to this day, Nadal is a joke. So Nadal going onto Federer's turf, for want of a better phrase, excuse the pun, was incredible. Like an incredible tennis match. And I think at that time, and you remember, we've got a certain Andy Murray at that point, second best player, and he is trying at this point, remember, to make inroads into this tournament. This is the level, mate, that he was having to overcome. And if anyone's on YouTube later on tonight of that, there'll be highlights of the game, or that'll be condensed into 10 minutes. Watch it. It's unbelievable. Like, it is unbelievable. Even to this day, I still think that's a far higher standard of tennis than what I watched. Say if I watched the full final on Sunday there, and I would say the standard in 2008 to now, which is very rare in sport, because obviously technique and coaching skills and the way people look after themselves all changed all the time. People tend to get better. Honestly, I'm telling you, the standard in 2008, I don't know if they'll ever beat that.
Babe, anyway. What was it that caused it to go that long? Was it just they just couldn't defeat each other, basically?
If I remember correctly, there was obviously there'd been weather as well.
Weather, I was going to say, before they didn't also have a retractable roof at Wimbledon, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, that's part of it as well. But yeah, they were. I do remember it now that you've mentioned it. I remember the headlines at the time, it going to the Monday night.
Yeah.
Jesus, no chance, man. The athleticism, I mean, when you watch these guys at the absolute peak of their powers, man, it's to be admired, incredible. And the if you're a tennis fan, like for the last 15 years or so, it's been like 4 guys just winning all the top majors, and it's just like, it's incredible, man.
It's incredible that Murray won 3.
Yeah, I know. In any other day and age, he would be the best tennis player in the world, but he came in at a time when you've got Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal.
And he still won 3 majors and a Davis Cup as well.
And some Olympic medal. He won an Olympic medal as well, didn't he? Aye, beat Federer in the final.
And remember, he beat Djokovic in straight sets at Wimbledon in a final as well. Djokovic is 35 now and putting folk to the sword. He must have been a better, you would think he'd be a fitter, leaner version when Murray spanked him 3-0. So it's crazy. In comes your future co-host there, Phil.
Lawrence Time, yeah. Yep, he was born in Greenock and moved over to the USA. He was the kicker for the. I remember that, and I remember the Sky Sports doing a segment on that one because he was born in Greenock and moved over when he was a youngster into America. But I was the field goal kicker. Yeah, I remember that one, Lawrence time. But moving on to the snooker, Ronnie O'Sullivan defeats Ali Carter to win the World Championship that year. And darts, it was one of the rare years where Phil the Power Taylor did not win the world title at the PDC. It was Canadian player John Part that won the title that year.
Famous commentator now.
He is indeed.
He's the famous commentator. He's very good. He's actually, he almost makes that sound like there's real analysis you can give on it, Phil, you know?
as I said, when I added it to my rundown of the sports, it's the job that Sky Sports have done with darts and Matchroom have done to make it quite glamorous because, yeah, when you look at it like from the early 90s, watch the highlights of that, it's like, it's come a long, long way. It really has. I know the crowd isn't everybody's cup of tea. I know that, but that does actually kind of add to it, to be fair. It really does. I know it's that whole lad culture and all that, but if you take them out of it and it's just guys throwing darts at a board, it would genuinely be horrendous. So it does definitely add to it. In golf, we've got the South African golfer Trevor Immelman won the US Masters at Augusta in 2008, while Padraig Harrington, the Irish golfer, won the British Open and the Ryder Cup again this year. The USA managed to stop the rot because they were facing going 4-0, 0-4 at that point, but they managed to win. And because they lost 3 on the bounce in the Ryder Cup to Europe,
right.
so they got one back. Got one back. But we're coming up to the 2012 one with the Miracle in Medina. That was an amazing Ryder Cup where Europe came back from the dead on the last day to win it. It was an incredible watch, that one. And the world of boxing, here we go again. A lot of Russians with a lot of syllables in their names. Okay, so WBO heavyweight champions during 2008 was, I'm going to try and pronounce this right. Okay, Sultan Ibragimov or something. Yep, Vladimir Klitschko. So I know he is. WBA champions were Ruslan Shagayev.
Sounds like it.
And then Nikolai Valuev. I know how to pronounce that one. WBC, we've got Oleg Maskayev and Samuel Peter and Vitaly Klitschko. And the IBF title, as I talked in the last one, was held by Vladimir Klitschko. He would hold it all the way through to 2015, I do believe, before losing it to Tyson Fury. And as I always touch on, sorry to Ronnie Pickering out there, because I know he was like, stop talking about wrestling. Sorry, I just briefly touched on it. He left a comment in the last one saying, stick to the football.
Ronnie was saying it tongue in cheek. You can do what you want, Phil. This is part of the show. This is part of it, mate.
But in the world of the WWE, as I say, with WCW being gone for the last 7 years, they're just kind of going in a holding pattern. We're at a point now in WWE where it's John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Edge, Triple H. A collection of them are just the top guys. Every pay-per-view that comes along is one of them or two of them that are in the main events. But something big that did happen in WWE that's changed the whole landscape is the year before was the year that Chris Benoit murder-suicide happened in 2007. And it's caused WWE to take a massive change in the direction they're going. Gone are the days where you remember in the Attitude Era, Russell, with the chair shots to the head. They're gone. Blood, gone. They're going back to a PG to appeal more to children because WWE took a panning for this in the news because it was found that when Chris Benoit done what he done during the autopsy, he had seriously bad brain damage, the equivalent of somebody with like Alzheimer's in the like late 80s and so forth. He had roid rage. He suffered from that, from steroid abuse, so there was a massive crackdown on stuff like that in WWE. But the Chris Benoit tragedy happened in 2007. So we're now in 2008, so WWE's going in a completely different direction. But I can remember that. And they're still a PG company to this day. They still try and keep away from all the weapon shots to the head. But even when I go back and look at old footage and I see like chair shots right to the head from like 1999, stuff like that, I genuinely cringe now and go, I can't believe, like, as a kid, like, I was cheering that on. And it's like,
I love it,
man. Like, that's brutal. And you can, all people can go about, wrestling's fake. But trust me, taking some of the weapons square in the head, it's not a good idea. Don't do it. It's not a smart one. No, definitely not. But I say they've outlawed stuff like that now, thanks to the whole Chris Benoit stuff. But we move on now to the world of music. And as I've alluded to, as we go further into 2000 and the 2000s, it's going to get a bit of a struggle for me. But I've wrote down some hits. But Russell's going to talk obviously on the festival side of things, which we touched on last week. So I'll quickly run through the musical hits of that year. We have Take That with Great Stay, Coldplay, Viva La Vida, Duffy, Mercy, American Boy by Estelle and Kanye West, Dance With Me by Dizzy Rascal and Calvin Harris, All Summer Long by Kid Rock, Sex on Fire by the Kings of Leon. We've talked about them before. Katy Perry had her debut hit with I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. Remember Katy Perry? Yeah, it was her debut single as well. Adele, Chasing Pavements, Nickelback, Rockstar, and Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse released their version of Valerie in 2008, the one that everyone thinks that Mark Ronson wrote. No, he didn't. Alexander Buck won the X Factor that year, and number one at Christmas was Leona Lewis with Run. Now, Russell, you said that Tea in the Park and Glasgow this year were absolute belters. Because you were at them, I'm assuming, or at one of them.
I wasn't at Glastonbury, but I watched it for the house because finally the Verve were headlining, right? The Verve had reformed. Now, Verve were obviously one of my favourite bands in the 90s and stuff. Then they split, and I loved Ashcroft. Solo, I was talking about another week. But the Verve have got back together. They're going to be making new music. They've not quite released their new single yet, but they headline Glastonbury.
Right.
Now, people might think Verve, they've only got a few songs. I know. At the point in time where they headlined Glastonbury, it was something like, it was either 15th or 17th biggest selling UK album of all time they had in Urban Hymns. Wow. So let's get, like, you think of the catalogue of music that's ever came out, records to CDs and even cassettes. And they are up there in the top 20 for Urban Hymns. That is a joke of a level. So for me, that is a band that is warranting headlining any festival that is held in the UK. Yeah, I appreciate maybe globally they've not had that sort of success, although I'm sure some of their songs maybe have. I appreciate they wouldn't have had that sort of success. So they wouldn't be, it's expected to be headlining festivals in America and things. But in these shores, with that as a start, this was thoroughly deserved work, and this was them I felt getting the recognition and probably a good payday as well for probably a decade later from what it should have been. Obviously, there's many reasons behind it. If they hadn't split up, perhaps they would have headlined a Glastonbury in a 1999 or a 2000. Although sometimes it takes, even as a festival organizer, maybe they need to have took a step back and started realizing what these achievements kind of are to go, holy shit, I would have put them on in the afternoon in the 90s. Oh, wow. Now you look at it and you go, they've got to be headlining. Do you know what I mean? And it is one hell of a comeback. Now, Stevie Kenny's saying, A Northern Soul is a far, far better album for the Verve. FFS, Bhoycie. I don't remember. I can't remember. Right? You correct me if I'm wrong here. Or if I just told you facts about Urban Hymns, Phil.
You have just told me facts, mate. Yeah.
I don't remember saying anything about what album was better. So, Stevie... Just you wind your wee FFS in, son, because you don't even know what album I prefer, my boy. But it was a triumphant return. And what they did at the end of it, the end of the headline set, was they play Bittersweet Symphony naturally. You think that's the set coming to an end. Again, this is on YouTube. The Verve closing Glastonbury is iconic. Ashcroft looks amazing, sounds amazing. But at the end of Bittersweet Symphony, you can kind of hear the guitars and the feedback's still going. No one's left the stage. And they burst into their new song. Now, to have the balls to close your headline Glastonbury gig, which everyone is basing on your 90s career, obviously, and to finish it with a brand new song no one's ever heard before is ballsy. Particularly when you hear the actual track. Don't know if you remember Love Is Noise by the Verve, but it sounds a bit like Teletubbies. And it's like,
rings a big bell, aye.
So this is all coming over like the PA, this pre-layered vocal, obviously, and I'm going, holy fuck. Like that doesn't even sound almost like the Verve. It sounds different to have the balls to finish that, and it goes on. Love Is Noise plays for 10 minutes. Right?
Wow.
This new single.
Okay.
But at no point, I watched it live, right? A few cans. And I genuinely was mind blown by how I was like, that's my favorite Verve song ever. I've decided, obviously, just caught up in the moment. But luckily for me, I get the joy of seeing them live again 2 weeks down the road at Tea in the Park.
Right,
and they did not disappoint. Phonics, brilliant festival band, followed by the Verve. Friday night, Tea in the Park, mate, 2008, 20 years old, done. And that was, I just thought, for the Verve's point of view, they probably, Bittersweet Symphony, obviously, they've only recently got the rights 2 years ago. The Rolling Stones finally give them the rights, but there's a huge conspiracy about this, Phil, right? So see, you know, the obviously the sample of the violins, right?
Yep.
That's in a Rolling Stones song, but the Rolling Stones bumped it from a soul song. Yet the Rolling Stones got away with it. So the Rolling Stones got all the rights, okay, to this track.
Okay.
And the Rolling Stones then stopped the Verve from making any money off their biggest selling single.
Wow.
Because of this sample that's not even theirs.
Oh man.
That is so naughty, by the way.
That is naughty. That is.
I find it frustrating as anything. I'm like, you can't. But anyway, actually, what happened is the Rolling Stones, I think it was during lockdown, caved. Ashcroft won the battle.
Okay.
And now he, and I don't know if he's given any songwriting royalties to the rest of the Verve for that song, but certainly at the very least him, because he was the chief songwriter of the band, now gets the royalties anytime you hear Bittersweet Symphony.
Okay.
But I just thought it was so cool that in a career where they'd obviously felt maybe undervalued then with that, then they're like, we've got a top 20 of the biggest selling albums of all time, and we've never headlined the festival. I just thought the return in 2008 was a real deserved moment in their career. Pulp did something similar, Phil, 3-4 years later. I didn't think it was as merited, and I've got to be honest, I thought they were proven to not be a headline act. But I think they wanted a piece of the pie, maybe because they seen the likes of the Verve. But that's my rant about music in 2008, mate.
That was a good rant. I find something really interesting I picked up on is you're talking about how ballsy it was for the Verve to finish on a new song. Yep. Just think a couple of weeks ago to Glastonbury and how Noel Gallagher stood there and was like, "Oh, I know you're only here for the Oasis songs, but we're going to play, some of the new songs." He kind of, I don't know, tongue.
He says none of you know. He was like, "None of these ones, but I'm going to play them anyway." And then a lot of people, bucket hats, are going to get excited later on. I'm like, so you're kind of slagging folks that like your best songs and your
the Verve just went fuck it and just ended on one of their new songs. None of this, so we're going to play our new ones. Yeah, fair play to them. Now, when you said that, I just remembered to Noel Gallagher just a few weeks ago. But yeah, he's banned on the bus. We're all about Liam Gallagher, mate, on the bus here, mate. He's wet wiped, mate. So moving on from the world of music into movies in 2008. So the big films where I don't know if you're a superhero movie fan, Russell, at all, because we had two big ones this year. We had The Dark Knight came out and Iron Man. Iron Man, the start of the Marvel cinematic universe, started with the first Iron Man film that year as well. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, less said about that, the better. I do like Indiana Jones, but that one is horrific. I remember going to the cinema to see that, and genuinely, like, me and my mate was at the end, just looked at each other like, what the fuck was that we just watched? Awful. Wall-E, Kung Fu Panda, Twilight, Sex and the City, Tropic Thunder, Juno, James Bond, Quantum of Solace, Incredible Hulk, Marley and Me, and Step Brothers for all big films in 2008. And at the Oscars, the big winner was No Country for Old Men. Fucking tremendous film. It won 4 awards. It was nominated for 8 along with There Will Be Blood. Yeah, and you seen No Country for Old Men?
Never heard it.
Oh, mate, you need to say,
I'm
Tom.
so bad with films. I once thought Dustin Hoffman was a film. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, you should try to see No Country for Old Men. Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin in it. It's phenomenal, mate. It's a great film. It took me a few years. I hadn't seen it initially when it came out. It was years later I saw it. I was like, man, I've been missing out here. You might have a similar reaction. Yeah, really good. I thought it was fantastic. But it won 4 awards that year at the Academy Awards. It was the big winner. Now, big news headlines in 2008. There's actually some sort of positive headlines here in 2008 after a bit of a down slump, because in the US, the presidential election, Barack Obama wins the presidential election in November of 2008. Now, I always remember this because the night after it, we played Manchester United in a Champions League game. The 1-1 draw when Scott McDonald put us ahead, and then Giggs equalised at the end. And I always remember a very painful memory from this one because I injured my Achilles tendon at that game because my mate jumped on me when we celebrated, and I went over my ankle and just thought I'd sprained my ankle or something. Ended up walking around on it for weeks on end, and it wasn't getting any better. One of the girls in my work had also done physiotherapy, and she told me to describe the pain, and I told her about it. She went, "You've done in your Achilles tendon." Now, look, I hadn't ripped or tore my Achilles tendon. I just strained it. If I tore it, I wouldn't be able to walk, but I made it worse by walking on it, and I had to get the deep heat cream and one of those tight socks that can, hold the muscle in. And it was like, so I've got a very painful memory of that one. But yeah, Barack Obama had his victory speech the night before that game. Now, I know there's going to be, I've seen it on Twitter many times from Celtic fans in particular. I know Barack Obama's not perfect. None of the US presidents are perfect, right? I know in comparison to, like, you know, he's still, the war in Iraq continued all throughout it and so forth. And I know there was a whole thing about dropping bombs on other countries, but compare who came before him and who came after him, Donald Trump and George W. Bush. And it's like, come on, man. So they had 8 years of Obama coming up. So yeah, it was a great moment, though. His victory speech was phenomenal. I can remember staying up and watching it live when he delivered that speech to the crowd. It's just one of those ones that just filled you with like some hope after, I say, George W. Bush. He was just awful. And of course, he dragged the UK and the US and other countries into the conflict in the Middle East as well. So yeah, it was good to see him final. Well, he had to go because it was the end of his second term, but yeah, Obama did fill many people with a lot of hope. But do you remember that one, Russell?
I remember it kind of happening, but again, man.
Yeah, you're having a good time in 2008, mate.
I wasn't caring about American politics, mate. I'll be honest with you.
Fair dues, man. The market crash happened in 2008, the big recession, the Lehman Brothers, the whole thing just spiraled through there from then going bankrupt, and then just the world. Also, different countries were suddenly having to claim emergency funds. We had a recession. Some people said it was a once-in-a-generation recession. Yeah, here we are in 2022 in the cost of living crisis. Yeah. Once in a generation, good stuff. Social media exploded. This is around about the era when it's starting to go haywire, because we've had a couple of years where Bebo and MySpace were the forerunners. I had a MySpace account, I had a Bebo account,
too, man.
It was starting to build. But in 2008, that's when you start to see Facebook and Twitter really starting to get some traction. This is us now entering the social media day and age. And is the world a better place with or without it, Russell? It's a very polarizing subject.
Bring back Bebo, man. I like that.
Bebo, yeah. You had like love hearts you could give to people each day. You had free.
You would always do that. You'd always do that. The birthday were trying to chat up at the time. Do you know what I mean? They would know what you meant. You knew what you meant.
And then there was on MySpace, it was your top 8. And there was a real dilemma about who was in your top 8 friends. You got to pick the order that they were in and stuff like that. There was real conflict over stuff like that. But yeah.
Am I right thinking you could put up like photos on it? Was that MySpace? You could put up like a wee like code. You could have. I remember like having GIFs and that on my MySpace page.
Yep. And all that. You could download like a page coding and stuff like that changed your page into a different color, and you could have like a music player on it that played like a random song, stuff like that. Yeah, MySpace was pretty good, but cool. But then to say Facebook just grows at this point and just absolutely engulfs it. I think MySpace is still a thing, but it's not like for social media anymore. It's more for like bands and stuff like that. Like it's totally different.
To be fair though. Yeah. Like, see, Facebook was because Facebook was really, really, really simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a simpleton thing.
It was.
Like, all it was you wrote in folks' wall and that, and it was like,
That's right.
I remember when I first got it, and I was like, what's everyone talking about? Why do they all want this? Like, it just seems so basic. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, whereas like MySpace, that you needed an instruction manual when you first got it to sort of work out. I was like, how's this page doing that? And you're right, you could go onto someone's page and music would start playing and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How cool is that, mate? Like, bring that back. That's well better.
I just remember in the early days of Facebook, you could for lack of a better term, this is literally what it was called, if you don't know, you could poke somebody, as in prod them for their attention. Right. But yeah, they call it poking. I'm like, in certain parts of the world, namely Scotland, that term might be used in a different connotation. Obviously, in America, they don't know, but yeah, I can remember you could poke somebody to get their attention on Facebook. That was one of the early features on it. Yeah, I remember it very well. But yeah, Twitter's always about to explode as well. So, and it's still here now. Instagram's still a wee while off. But yeah, this is the turn of like the social media day and age starting to explode. Also in 2008, China hosted the Summer Olympics. Russell, bit of Celtic trivia for you. There are 2 Celtic players that have an Olympic medal in their winners' cabinet. Do you know who the 2 players are?
Ask me that again.
There's 2 Celtic players who've got an Olympic medal in their winners' cabinet. Do you know who the 2 Celtic players are?
What, in 2008 that are in the...
One of them's in 2008.
Right. And they're the Olympic winners' medal. Oh my days.
Yeah, they've got an Olympic medal, not necessarily a winners' medal.
Okay.
3 colours that you can get for Olympic medals.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fair enough. Shit. I'm trying to think, man. Would it be? Oh, that's a good one. Dominic Cervi? Is he Italian? I've got it in my head. He was
No, he played for
Canadian.
the USA, but
Was it
no, it's
USA?
not
It
him.
was USA.
No.
That's what I'm trying to go down that road,
Mhm.
Phil. You know, I think I'm being smart here. Maybe I'm not. Genji?
No.
Fuck.
Trivia started early tonight, folks. It started early.
I had started early. Oh my days. That's hard, man. That's really hard. But I like it.
Would you like me to tell you the answers? I'll give you some clues.
I think we'll take a clue first, please, Quizmaster.
Okay, so the clue for this one, without giving the nationality away, is he is a defender that played under Neil Lennon.
Thank you very much, John, by the way. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Dewey.
Not Dewey.
That's really kind, John. Cheers, mate. I'm just stalling for time, really, when I'm saying thanks to John there. No, that was really kind, mate. Thank you. A defender that played under Neil Lennon. And he has an Olympic medal.
He does, mate. And when you hear it, you'll be like, I can't believe he's got an Olympic medal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be surprised.
Oh, you'll be surprised. Oh, you will.
Not Gershon or that, no.
No.
But that surprised.
I think so, yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see.
Not as Rami Gershon surprised, no.
Not Rami Gershon surprised, but definitely
Right.
you'll be like, oh, wow, didn't know that.
Oh my God, this Chaduri.
Not Chaduri, no.
Oh, damn.
It's a good shout, but it's not Cha.
Oh, right, one more guess. Hey, you'd be surprised. Thomas Ronye.
No. Do you want to know the 2008 one?
Yes, please.
Effie Ambrose.
Of course.
Argentina beat Nigeria in the final in the 2008 football tournament, and he's got a silver medal. Now, the other one is from 2012.
Oh, 2012. That's Neil Lennon's era.
Still Neil Lennon's era, yep.
Defender again?
No, a midfielder this time.
Midfielder. Olivier Capo?
No.
Because he would have been... France could have done all right at the Olympics, and he had loads under 21 caps, if I remember correctly. That's me just justifying my shite against him.
Fair enough.
Oh, God. Juarez?
No, that's a good shout because Mexico did win the gold medal that year, but he wasn't in the squad.
Shit.
I'll tell you, mate, it was a bronze medal that he won. They won the third place playoff, this team, in 2012. Ki Sung-young, yes, it was indeed. Yeah, Ki and Effie Ambrose have got Olympic medals in their winner's cabinet, a bronze and a silver. There you go, mate.
Try to think of the try to think outside the box of the countries. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. We got there, mate. I needed the clues. I can't do it.
Got there in the end. A wee bit of trivia thrown in there, obviously, deflect from any bad news stories, because also we've got another terrorist attack as well. There's another one in Mumbai, India, in 2008. 160 people killed in a hotel bombing this time.
Wow.
And also in 2008, I completely forgot this happened. Completely forgot this. Apparently, in 2008, Vladimir Putin was ousted as the president of Russia. I didn't even know. I thought Vladimir Putin's been the president of Russia since the early 2000s, but in a democratic vote, he was ousted for, I'm going to try to pronounce it right, Dmitry Medvedev. Right. But then, in some totally non-dodgy actions, the Russian parliament passed some legislation and bills that then allowed the president to serve a longer term. Medvedev ended up resigning, and Putin in 2009 came right back into being president after serving an interim spell as prime minister. Nothing dodgy about that at all, I'm sure. Yes.
Sliding doors, eh?
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't even know. I have no recollection of that even happening. That one took me by surprise. And also, former Yugoslavia was further broken up in 2008 when Kosovo became its own sovereign independent nation. And nowadays, we do see Kosovo competing in UEFA football tournaments and stuff like that as well. So, yep, further divided up. Now, on to our pre-tournament roundup, because this is quite an interesting one, to be honest, because... Scotland and England had very, very eventful qualifying campaigns, to say the least, because we're used to obviously not qualifying, and it's usually a hard luck story. But Jesus Christ, the qualifying campaign for the 2008 Euros was the closest we'd gotten at that point. Obviously, we qualified for Euro 2020/21, but yeah, this was a heartbreaker. After beating France home and away in the group stages. Now, midway through the group as well, Walter Smith, who'd been having a good run, goes back to Rangers. Alex McLeish takes over, but the good run continues. So he's in charge when we go to Paris and beat them with that James McFadden wonder goal. And then it all comes down to the last game. We're playing Italy at Hampden, and we lose 2-1 in very, very dodgy circumstances. I believe was Andrea Pirlo and Alan Hutton chase a ball out to the corner, and Pirlo, I think, fouls Hutton, and they give a free kick to Italy, and then Pirlo swings it in, and Christian Panucci heads it in at the back post, and they beat us 2-1 in the last minute. It was heartbreaking. And if you remember correctly, just after, I think it was Barry Ferguson equalised for Scotland, James McFadden has a Paul Gascoigne Euro 96 moment where he's inches away from a ball coming across the box, and he's that close to getting on the end of it, and he could have put Scotland 2-1 up at the time. And oh man, it was just awful. Like, yeah, it was so sickening. Yeah,
I met Jackie McNamara that night with Simon Donnelly on a train, and they were pretty despondent about it. I sat with them, obviously.
Yeah,
did their nothing, just ranting, drunk. They were at Dunblane train station. They got on.
Oh, okay.
Because what was the connection there? There is a connection. Why they'd be in Dunblane? Can't remember what it is. I can't remember what it is. But they were in Dunblane, definitely. Like, they were standing at the Dunblane train station. I'm sure it was that match. Positive it was. And just gutting feeling that. That was a good squad, that. It was all right, that Scotland squad. It was all right.
Yep.
And I think, obviously you're going to get to England, but I mean, I think when you compare the two, we felt like we were going somewhere.
Yep.
And you felt they were on the slide. And normally, when it comes to these tournaments that were narrowly not qualified for, might got a playoff against them in other years, We would have took them, I think.
Would have, I think so as well. Man, we were definitely on the right track. So it's a real surprise because Walter Smith had done so well. For then him to leave, you think, we're going to lose on the momentum. But amazingly, Alex McLeish just seemed to hit the ground running and kept all that good for going. But I remember, I've mentioned this before on Bustalgia, that BBC documentary from a few years back, Scotland's game. The episode where they concentrate on Scotland, they talk about this game, and Alex McLeish mentions that the night before he got a phone call in his hotel from a female Italian journalist, and she asked a really loaded question, which was, do you think UEFA will allow both France and Italy not to be at the tournament? And he basically was like, oh, that's a bit of a loaded question then, he was kind of wary of it as soon as it came in, but it is, when you hear stuff like that, and then you see the performance of the referee. I mean, that free kick at the end that he gives is an absolute joke. It's not a free kick at all. I say Pirlo ends up fouling Alan Hutton, and he gives it to Italy, and it's like something was off about that performance. And I think the fear of France and Italy not being at a tournament, big names like that, and little Scotland could have got in there ahead of France, because that's who we would have qualified at the expense of, was the French. Because Italy, I think, had already qualified or were on course to winning the group. But yeah, man, when you start weighing stuff like that up, you're like, wow, I wonder, man.
You do a wee bit. I know, I get you. I get you 100%. I mean, as well, remember as well, the amount of phone calls to the Italian FA, UEFA have had, or FIFA have had over the last decade. We've discussed it on Bustalgia.
Yes.
A lot of decisions, a lot of things they felt went against them. Maybe they were due a favour from the powers that be. They certainly got one that night, whether we like it or not.
They did. Now, you mentioned about England there and their contrasting campaign, which was going in this direction.
Yep.
So after World Cup 2006, Fengon and Eriksson, he steps down after a few years in charge, and his assistant, Steve McLaren, takes over. Now, it's not a very good campaign. There was an infamous game where they lost to Croatia, where Gary Neville passes the ball back to Paul Robinson, who has a fresh air kick, and then rolling right into the net. They had a bit of a shocker. But yeah, it comes down to their last game. They've got to beat Croatia to qualify for the European Championships. Now, during this campaign, he's tried to basically phase out David Beckham as captain. We've talked about Beckham before on this show, talked about, he's love him or hate him, you cannot deny his commitment to the cause, even at that stage in his career, but he is getting on quite a bit, and he could have been at his Paris Saint-Germain or AC Milan phase at this point. Where he
wasn't, Phil. He wasn't, mate. No.
LA Galaxy at that point.
LA Galaxy, mate. He's only 32.
Is he the Galaxy at that stage, right?
Campaign,
right. Okay.
I don't think he started doing the Milan thing till he was with 34, 35.
Right, okay.
But I'm sure. Well, I could be wrong, but I think that's right. That he did Milan when he was sort of mid 30s.
Yeah,
he was only 32. He would have been in that campaign. So Aye.
I wonder if the
But it was
rationale
getting
for
phased out.
McLaren...
It was getting phased out. Of that, I totally agree with.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wonder if the rationale though was, he's playing the MLS now, which is a massive step down in quality, so maybe that's why he's trying to phase him out. But end of the day, Beckham will always give his best for the country, and he comes back for the Croatia game. He's back in the fold for that infamous game. But unfortunately, that night they also picked Scott Carson in goal, and he would have quite an infamous night because Croatia ended up beating them in a rain-soaked Wembley Stadium, and we get the lasting image of Steve McLaren standing there with the umbrella up and the headline, the Wally with the Brawley. They lose 3-2 and they don't qualify. And amazingly, we're now in a position where Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland have not qualified for a tournament. First time that's ever happened. I mean, I remember obviously World Cup 94. Republic of Ireland at least still made it to that one. But yeah, this is uncharted territory because especially for the TV broadcasters on these shows, it's like, how can we get an England camp update? How can we get an update for the Wags? What are they doing? What are we going to do? So, yeah, there was a wee bit of concern, I think, at this end about, well, interest in the tournament might dwindle a wee bit. But anyway, we'll get on to talk about the 2v1. But yeah, it was mental when they get beat by Croatia. I never saw that coming. I was convinced they would just get the job done, especially after us, the hard luck story that we get. It'd just be typical that they could just further rub it in our face. But no, England came a cropper as well, mate.
Very strong Croatia side, though.
They were.
At this point, this is now Modric territory. This is now, remember the really pacey winging at the long spell? I think he was at Bayern Munich at one point in Germany. Olic. It was him. And a fullback that I don't know why he seemed to spend his best years at Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean,
Dario Serna.
That's how yes. He is. I mean, he was a phenomenal fullback, mate. I was always impressed with him. He played against us at Shakhtar. I always thought he was a top set fullback, either left or right as well, Serna. Brilliant player. And they had more than that as well. Just I'm trying to think off the top of my head. They had more players than that were like proper good, man. And I think there was a good generation coming through. And you look at Croatia now, for example. Doesn't matter who's in their squad, how much of the personnel that you know. When you hear England would have to beat Croatia to qualify for a tournament, you'd be going 50-50. And that's not a disrespectful way to England. It's just because Croatia now are so much, even though when you look back at the Bustalgias we've done, they had a third place at World Cup 98. But I would say now, I agree with you. I think at that point in time, we just expected England to get the job done. Whereas now, if England are left with that conundrum, we'd be kind of going, yeah, England are probably narrow favourites, but I think it could be quite tasty.
Oh, definitely.
I think Croatia's reputation has really, really grown since then.
As indeed, and they've definitely got the Indian sign over England at times when it comes to tournaments. They seem to be forever drawing against them. There's certain teams that always get paired up at tournaments. They always find a way to play each other. And I felt that England and Croatia seem to be drawn to each other at times along the way. But yeah, this is one of the many sort of moments for Croatia.
Patrick McLaughlin, I've seen your comment, mate. Yeah. You're right. I've got it on the list, mate.
Good stuff that you're still picking those up along the way. There might be a couple of names that get mentioned during this as well that will make you go, of course. But yeah, so Scotland, I say all of the UK and the Republic of Ireland, all of the countries haven't qualified for the Euros, but say we'll deal with that when we get into the tournament. As for the Nike advert campaign, I alluded to this one last week. I think this is fully inspired by Peep Show, which was huge at this point. As they take it to the next level one, where everything is seen through the first person perspective of the player. It starts off, he's playing at amateur level, he's walking off the park, sees Arsene Wenger.
Doesn't he?
He does. He spews at one point. Does a Zidane, mate, and spews. But yeah, I've wrote down here, I think I've got everyone that stars in it. I probably missed a few here and there, but I've got Arsene Wenger, Wayne Rooney, Ronaldo, William Gallas, Carlos Tevez, Cesc Fabregas, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Marco Materazzi, Rafael Marquez, Andres Iniesta, Ronaldinho, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Wesley Sneijder, and Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. Because it's revealed at the end, the guy is Dutch because he's walking out onto the park with the Dutch national team. So that was a bit of surprise. I thought it was all going to be like in England, but yeah, he ends up starting at amateur level, ends up playing for Arsenal, and you get all the footage of him playing at Old Trafford against Man United, and then they're playing Inter Milan at the Emirates Stadium in a Champions League game, and yeah, he's walking out onto the park at the European Championships for the Dutch national team. But yeah, it was really coolly done. But 100% it's inspired by Peep Show, because I say it's huge at that point. And yeah, so this, as I say, this tournament's held in Switzerland and Austria. No doubt tonight at some point I will fuck up and say Poland and Ukraine, because the next Euros is also a dual hosted tournament, and everything just seems to blend into one. I read about this era of football, probably because Spain win everything, so it's hard to differentiate at times. But yeah, your host cities tonight, and the Austrian ones are, let's have a wee look. We've got Vienna, Innsbruck, Salzburg, and Klagenfurt. And in Switzerland, we've got Basel or Basel, depending on how you pronounce it. Bern, Zurich, and Geneva are the host cities in Switzerland. So that concludes the pre-tournament roundup. Just in time, we've just hit the hour mark. So Russell, we'll do our 2 minutes musical interlude, and when we come back, we'll be delving into Euro 2008.
I've got an idea, mate, right? I think before we go to the break, I think we should put some ideas for the trivia to you. And then we can do that, do it now. We'll do some ideas. We'll not complete it. I'm going to pitch to you, because I've not even got 10 guesses, right? I'm going to pitch some ideas, and we'll see what we've got, and then we come back to it at the end of the show. Is that fair?
That seems fine,
it's a good way to get the brains racking over the break as well, just because
if anyone came in late, I'll remind them of what the question is, just in case you don't know. So at Euro 2008, Ivan Vastic of Austria set a record by becoming the oldest goal scorer in Euros history. He's 38 years old and 257 days. I am looking for the 9 other players that make up the top 10 oldest goal scorers at the Euros. We've already got, obviously, Vastic, number 1. And number 10 on the list, this gives you your range, is Christian Panucci, who was 35 years old and 63 days. Got him. So we've got the 2.
We've got him. We've got the Vastic one, which was obviously the one that was led to the question. There's 8 more to get, right?
8 more to get.
And I just want to put a couple of ideas to you, and then, obviously, before we go to the break, right? We'll go with the suggestion. I loved that from it was Patrick
McGoldman.
He was right on the ball, and when the name came up with the Croatian team, he says Modric, and of course, because he scored against Scotland at the age of 36.
35 years old and 287 days, just coming up to 36. But 21.
Got him. That's us 3 out of 10, 7 to go.
Yes.
Gonna throw another one from this tournament I've got, Phil. I think it's because he is only a matter of days older than Christian Panucci. So I'm going to even guess he's 9th in the list. How about that?
Oh, wow. You're good, mate.
Jan Koller.
Jan Koller, 35 years old and 78 days. So he is 15 days older than Christian Panucci.
Yes. And it's any Euros, isn't it?
Any Euros, but as I say, there is none that are like 1976 or anything, so don't worry. They're all players you've heard of, every one of them.
I'm going to throw one more at you.
Yep.
Well, 2 more, sorry. There's one that's really obvious, and we can leave that for the end.
Okay.
I'm going to say Miroslav Klose.
No, Miroslav Klose.
But he will be in the World Cup top 10, I bet.
Oh, he's of course, mate. Of course.
He's in the World Cup top 10. Okay, the other one's a wee bit of a curveball. I'm going to say the Portuguese defender Pepe.
No. Pepe does score at this, but no, he's not. By the way, just a quick thing on.
I thought he might. Do you know what?
No.
He played for Portugal till he was right old. So what about the other Portuguese defender then? Just quickly, the other one, the one who plays for Lyon, he used to play for Southampton.
Jose Fonte?
Yes.
It's not Jose Fonte.
Oh, I thought you might have been on it.
No.
Okay.
Before we go to the break, do you want to know a bizarre fact when you mentioned Miroslav Klose?
Yes.
Do you know that his partner in crime up front, Thomas Müller, has never ever scored at European Championships? He's got loads of goals at World Cups. Thomas Müller has never ever scored at Euros. And do you remember last year when they get beat off England in the second round? There was an instance where England were 1-0 up and Thomas Müller was right through on goal, 1-on-1. And I don't know, the gods must have just gathered just to stop him. And that shot that he had just went by the post. And it was like, that was his moment right there. Yeah, Thomas Müller, despite all the goals he scored in his career, all the World Cup goals he's got, has never scored at European Championships. Very, very strange fact, that one. But anyway, Russell, we'll go to the break now. Anyway,
we'll go to the break, mate. I just thought I would have some fun with the list that and I'll try and do the same in the second half. If there's a wee minute when you're off on one, if I've got a wee brainwave, I'll jot it down, mate. But cool. We will see you in 2 minutes. I do have that banner typed up. There we go.
There we go. Back to.
We'll be back.
The seagulls followed shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
And we are back. Welcome, everyone. And it is time to delve into Euro 2008. So, yeah, we're going to start off with something very big here. The group of death is the first talking point because, this is a term gets used a lot, stronger than the rest, and you'll hear, group of death. In the last Euros show we did on Bustalgia, we mentioned in Euro 2004, poor Latvia, they ended up in a group with Germany, Holland, and the Czech Republic in their first ever and only tournament they've qualified for. But Euro 2008, when I was going through the fixtures on this one, I could not believe it. I totally forgot that this was a thing, but there's a group in this tournament that has the Netherlands, France, Italy, and Romania. Now, Romania obviously stand out as being like, they're definitely the weakest one, but Romania are no mugs. This is a Romania team that had Adrian Mutu up front at the time. Russell, remember him?
Absolutely. How he's still playing. This is the guy who he's got more lives than any cat you've ever met in your life. He's banned for months, he's banned for years.
Yeah.
He's fined £16 million by Chelsea, was it not? They released him, sued him, for £16 million. How did he ever pay that back? And how is he still on a football pitch? Where's he pulled £16 million from?
No idea, mate. No
I
idea
reckon
at all.
they must have worked that out, that he was going to pay them up in installments or something.
Must have been. It has to. I mean, that much money, no chance.
But it's impossible, mate. How's he going to... His career earnings will not be £16 million.
No chance. And you say he's still playing now?
No.
No, he said he's still playing now.
Did I? Oh, I didn't mean that. If I did, no, he's definitely not still playing now. I meant with regards to the tournament. How is he still playing? In Euro 2008, after being literally 3 years before that, global bans, drugs busted, sued for £16 million. How is he back playing football at these international tournaments? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He must have bankrupted. I wonder if Chelsea ever got that money. I mean, God forbid I feel sorry for Chelsea.
I know.
That's not going to happen. But it is interesting. They kind of got a bit screwed there because they took the right line. They went the right line. See what I did? Scott Cameron, stop Googling. He is Googling answers for that quiz. I know already.
Oh, no.
I'm making up. He's put in a player's full name, their age, and their country. I'm like, how would you know?
Okay.
How would you know his exact age? Because that is a very particular player, Scott Cameron. How would you know his exact age then? I'm
Yeah, don't
watching
Google
you,
it,
man.
guys. Come on, don't Google
No,
it.
maybe he's not. He might
That's
not.
the
I'm not joking. He might
but
just know
yeah,
that how old that player was, but I think I have to play.
we'll see. We'll get to it later on. But yeah, so the group of death, say this is an obscene group where
Yeah.
France and Italy obviously came from the same qualifying group. They've ended up in the same actual tournament group as well, which makes you kind of wonder. And you're looking from a Scotland point of view, it's like, man, had we got instead of France, would we be in this group? Jeez, terrifying to think if we had Italy, Holland, and Romania to play. But yeah, this is the group of death in this one. So from a punditry point of view, it's really difficult to call exactly how this one will go. And I don't think many people could have expected it in the opening round of games where Holland absolutely take Italy to the cleaners and smash them 3-0. It's obscene. And France was a 0-0 draw with Romania. I say Romania are capable of holding their own. Say France, they're in that Raymond Domenech area where it's getting a little. Things are going to get worse for them, basically, especially 2010 World Cup. But they've still got an amazing play for their players. But yeah, right off the bat, Russell, Holland absolutely taking Italy to pieces, man. And this would be foreshadowing essentially because in the next game they beat France 4-1 as well. This was getting heralded as a return of total football. The Netherlands had that, it was dynamic and exciting to watch. They had Van Nistelrooy, Van Persie, Schneider, Robin, Huntelaar, even Dirk Kuyt to a degree. All exciting attacking options in the squad. Absolutely joy to watch, but the way they were taking teams apart was incredible, mate. How much do you actually remember of like just watching the Dutch in this tournament and how good they were? You've muted yourself. Still muted.
I'm getting a wee feedback, mate. I'm getting a wee bit of feedback on the old headset. So I'd muted myself, hoping that it would disappear, but it's still, I don't know if can you hear a wee crackling?
No, I'm all right.
Not even a tiny one? It's
No.
right in my lug, dude, man. Nothing.
Oh, no.
At least if it's only at my end, I can take it. But, the Dutch team, full of pace, full of technical ability, of course, because they've improved as a team. But I mean, Van Nistelrooy was sort of the focal point. I mean, I think that Dirk Kuyt was sort of in that squad just for participation.
Thank you. That's why I said to a degree Dirk Kuyt, because I've never rated him that high. He's one of these weird players.
Just worked hard, eh? Just worked his balls off, mate. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, right, okay. All right, look how hard he's working. I mean, you got to put him in. It'd be wrong not to. Was Nigel de Jong in this tournament? Because he was very much at the World Cup 2010.
Oh, he was in the 2010 World Cup. That's the one where he kicked Xabi Alonso in the chest. Howard Webb, did they send him off? Mental. Yeah, I'd imagine he is in this one. I'll just quickly check it for you, mate. But I think Nigel de Jong must be there because for all that attacking talent, you're going to have to counteract it with a bit of grit in the middle. I'd imagine you've got to have somebody that can put in a bit of a fight. So I'll get Holland's squad on the go.
Nigel de Jong though would have been but because him and Van Bommel in the midfield would have been the two sort of like protectors, if you like, and I hated Van Bommel. I've got to be honest as well. I just think he's a dirty bastard. But going forward, they were easy on the eye, quite electric at times, and you could understand why they were a team that maybe neutrals wanted to do well. Maybe not so much people of a Celtic persuasion, but I kind of think that's all gets blown out of proportion as well. If I'm honest,
Jan Vennegoor Hesselink was at this tournament with the Dutch as well. He was in the squad, but I don't think he featured too much at the tournament. But he is in the Dutch squad from looking at it right now.
Fair play to him.
Aye,
fair play.
Yeah, given who they've got as attacking options, looking at it, as I say, I've just said Huntelaar, Kuyt, Robin, Van Nistelrooy, Van Persie, and Van Vennegoor Hesselink's in there. He's in the squad.
Hey, good on him. Good on Big Jan. I love that.
But to answer your thing about the midfielders, Van Bronckhorst, De Zoo, Engelaar, Schneider, De Jong, Afellay, and Van der Vaart were all the midfielders that Holland took
Van
to that
der
tournament.
Vaart, of course. I thought he was a wizard as well. One of those folk, maybe liked a pork pie or something, Phil. Do you know what I mean? I don't think his diet was the best when he was at Tottenham, for example.
Yeah.
I think Harry Redknapp spoke about him maybe not being the most dedicated professional, Phil. I think he maybe liked food that you wouldn't associate with Premier League and elite international football. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I think, again, you go back to your arguments. You go, how much do these guys want it? And maybe someone goes, I'm all right where I am. I want to enjoy my life, and I still have managed to get to this level. Because he was, again, Van der Vaart. I mean, he was captain of Ajax at 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, he was.
So by this point, he's 25, mate. He is in full swing. I think he's at Real Madrid.
Yeah, he is indeed.
Him and Van Nistelrooy at Real Madrid. And Robin may well have just moved there as well.
Robin, it will tell me here, Real Madrid, yep. And yep, Van Nistelrooy.
And is Schneider at Real Madrid?
Schneider is at Real Madrid. Van der Vaart's at Hamburg. Van der Vaart's at Hamburg at this point, but he'll be on the verge of Real Madrid. Yeah, he went from Ajax to Hamburg. Yeah, man, that was a bizarre move. But yeah, then he goes to Real Madrid after it. He does.
Interesting, isn't it? Because Van der Vaart moving to Hamburg probably then tells you that there was doubts about him now, right? Because that's not the move that he was touted for when he was at Ajax. Sorry, that Definitely is like he was expected to be, you know, the one, if any, because he was the one who was given the captain's armband at Ajax, and he was expected to do very, very well, Phil. And his move to Hamburg, I think, tells you, obviously, he'd have been scouted by every single big club, right? From a young age. He'd have been tracked, Phil, right? So obviously, there was a consensus, I would say. Rumours are he's not the hardest trainer in the world. No way his career trajectory would take him to Hamburg, if not.
No, definitely not.
It doesn't, does it?
No, 100%. I remember at the time when it happened as well, I was, Hamburg? Really? Like, it just seemed so out of place.
It was almost disappointing, wasn't it?
It was a bit, because the Hamburg were nowhere near the top team in Germany. Had he gone to somebody like, I know Wolfsburg had a bit of a good period in the 2000s. If he'd gone to like Dortmund or something, because Bayern are always the top team in Germany. But if he'd gone to one of the type of teams, fine. But no, not Hamburg. Not Hamburg at all.
No, it doesn't add up. Especially when you consider where the rest were. And yet Van der Vaart was meant to be obviously under 21 level and stuff. He was ahead of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, interesting one.
It was indeed. But yeah, as I say, Holland are absolutely smashing this group. So they've come through with 9 points out of 9. So they beat Italy 3-0. They beat France 4-1, absolutely took them to pieces. And then they beat Romania 2-0. So they've won 9 points out of 9. But the rest of the group is between Italy, France, and Romania. So say Romania have held their own. They've got a 0-0 draw and a 1-1 with the French and the Italians. But it all comes down to Italy and France. Again, the two teams from our group, from the qualifying one. As I say, France are a bit of a shambles. This is the dominate era that's kicking in. As it gets worse in the 2010 World Cup. But yeah, they seem to become a team where every tournament there was a drama and, you know, a falling out and stuff like that. And see, this is a manager who I can remember, he would do things like pick players based on star signs and stuff like that. And it's like, what is this? Is this like Mike Bassett, England manager, where he tells all the players born in this half of the year to stand on this side of the training ground and all the players on the other half of the year to stand on that side of the training ground? Like, what is this? It's like a parody. Honestly, when I heard these stories, I was like, is this a joke? Like, who does stuff like that? But yeah, it comes out of the last group game between Italy and France. Italy beat them 2-0 to send France packing bottom of the group with 1 point. And yes, since France's like glory in the 98 World Cup and the 2000 European Championships, they've had a real up and down time because they finished bottom of their group in the World Cup 2002. They finished there, but they lost to Senegal and stuff like that. And then, yeah, they've had this. Obviously, they got out of their group in Euro 04 and got away to the final in 2006. They've had a real up and down time. But yeah, an absolute shambles at this tournament. But say maybe it was a bit of karma striking them back for what happened to Scotland. But then again, you know, Italy, obviously no karma for them. But yeah, you said about Panucci. Panucci scores the equaliser against Romania. So that's where that one came from. The first goal that they scored at this tournament after losing 3-0. Panucci gets himself in that top 10 oldest goal scorers.
And, that's how I knew it, mate. That's how I knew it.
He does indeed. But yeah, I says total the group of death. I say it's probably no ended the way most people would have thought. I mean, Italy being the reigning world champions, I suppose it makes sense that they get through. But I say France are just a complete anomaly in this group, where how bad they were. Even Romania finished ahead of them. Say Romania, not to be overlooked, because another player that we didn't talk about in Romania was Christian Kivu. Remember him? Was he Lazio or Napoli? I've got a vision of him in a sky blue Italian shirt.
Ajax to Lazio, I'm sure.
Lazio it was, yeah.
Kivu.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he ended up as well. Now Petr Cech had to wear the headgear with the head injury. I think Kivu got a similar head injury when he was at Inter Milan. I have a vision of him in an Inter shirt wearing one of those protective headgears that the rugby players wear. I think he had a similar thing that Petr Cech suffered as well. But yeah, I remember. But yeah, it's easily the strongest group. So compared to Euro 2004, where you had Latvia going up against quite a group, that was something. I imagine when the draw was made, everyone was like, "Oh Jesus, what the hell is this?"
I know.
Yeah,
I know. Very tricky. Very tricky.
It was. But yeah, Holland are through, and so are Italy, France, and Romania off they pop. Now, moving on to the next part, because interesting enough, all the talking points that I've got for this one will cover every single group, because normally when we do these nostalgias, we can't talk about every group, but the way it's worked out is I've managed to find a way to cover every path basically towards the final. So we're going to talk about, we always like to talk about underdogs in these tournaments.
Someone get this man a pay rise.
Surprise packages. No, it's not a Joe Aribo transfer fee package. Oh, no, it's not one of them. We're talking about a good underdog surprise package. Yes, that's what we're on about here. So in this tournament, there were two. We had a bit of Turkish delight where Turkey were flying high in this tournament. After the 2002 World Cup as well, Turkey, they weren't
such a surprise package.
When you think about it, yeah, when you think about 2002 finishing third, but when you look at some of the other teams that were in this tournament, they don't quite weigh up to them, but they're not a terrible team. I mean, it's not like, as I say, the aforementioned Latvia or something. If they were to get through it, like I said, or Greece in 2004, it's not that level. But I'd say they're still quite a surprise given who they beat along the way. And the other team, of course, that surprised many people. There's a lot of teams are playing, as we could say, a bit of Russian roulette and underestimating the Russians, because an Arshavin and Pavlyuchenko-led side fired them to the semis. And the first shout-out of the night to Roman Pavlyuchenko, constantly linked with Celtic all throughout this time. Russell, now, this always pings in your head when we're doing these shows. Yeah. That guy's linked with Celtic. Roman Pavlyuchenko rocks up against Celtic with Spartak Moscow at the start of the 07-08 season, puts in quick shift, scores, I believe, the equaliser in the game in Glasgow. I think it was a penalty kick he scored. But we were constantly linked to him. Yeah, constantly linked to the guy. We never made a move. He then goes to this tournament and is fantastic and leads Russia all the way through to the semi-finals. And at that point, you knew, we're not getting this guy. We're not getting this guy at all. Remember him?
Yeah,
he was at Roma. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. We're getting slated here already, mate. There's Monty and Terry. They're like that. The fun police just knocking us out. No, we were wrong. We were wrong. You're right. Pavlyuchenko, linked heavily for a long time. I think he was signed. He was again one of those players. Right club, wrong era at Tottenham. Right era in terms of Spurs actually won a trophy when he was there, League Cup under Wandy Ramos. I think it's the only tournament since the Worthington Cup. Alan Nielsen back in 2000 against Mark O'Neill's Leicester.
Yes.
But that might be 1999 actually. But the thing was that strike force that Spurs had at the time was Robbie Keane, Jermaine Defoe, and Dimitar Berbatov.
Yeah, of course.
So, right, you try getting ahead of those three.
No chance.
Very difficult when chance. You're allowed one language striker, if you like, and Berbatov brings so much ability and just cool as fuck on the park. Let's be honest. Even the way he played was just so cool. Just see to watch, just like he's cool. End of. And Pavlyuchenko, just by saying he's I'm a bit of a poacher, a score goals. So that's not going to be enough, mate, to get in ahead of the other three. I do believe Peter Crouch might have been hovering about Spurs around that time because Redknapp was in charge. So the front line they had then was a joke. Yeah. And I think that would have been a signing that whilst we were linked more predominantly with him when he was at Spartak, I wonder if he was a player that was in the radar as a potential loan or something like that to Spurs around then as well.
Yeah, could have been because, I can remember it all throughout that entire season. Just all this, like his name kept coming up. We got at the January window. It came up again. Nothing ever came of it. I say he goes to that tournament and he plays well for Russia. And it was at that point you just knew this guy ain't coming to Celtic. He's put himself right in the shop window. He'll get snapped up. But yeah, you're right. When you look at the options that Tottenham had, there was no way he was getting in there. So. Yeah, he ended up at the wrong club, but definitely he was a handy player. I remember him giving us many problems in those qualifying games. But we'll start with Turkey and their path to the semi-finals, because they're in Group A along with Portugal, Czech Republic, and one of the host nations, Switzerland. It's safe to say that Turkey aren't a very fancy team. Most experts in this group will have Portugal and probably the Czech Republic down as the favourites to get out. Maybe Switzerland will get that wee South Korea style boost as being a host nation.
That's fair, but the Czechs have had, as we spoke about last week, an excellent previous tournament.
Yeah, they have. Okay,
previous Euros, was it? Is it Euros?
Previous Euros?
Previous
the World
Euros,
Cup, in between, but the previous Euros, they were an absolute force, and it's a lot of the same players here. But again, still a good team. But yeah, most pundits would add Portugal and the Czechs. See, Switzerland might get that wee host nation boost. But now, second shout out of the night, Hakan Yakin, 3 goals in 3 games at this tournament. Well done, Hakan Yakin. Another one that was always linked to us.
I hope you've seen his first goal of the tournament.
Is that the one that gets stuck in the water?
Stuck in the water, mate, and he's like,
it's amazing,
so scruffy, just about crosses the line. It's the shiniest goal ever.
It reminded me, well, not compared to this goal's a wonder goal, but getting stuck in the water, I think of Canu against Chelsea, where he got going out for a goal kick, and gets stuck in the water, and then he skins Ed De Hoy and bends it in from out in the corner flag. But yeah, the way it just basically stops dead, he nearly missed it.
Well, he's got to tap it in, and then he's kind of, I think he's already, his legs already begun to swing towards the ball. And then he's realised, oh my God, that ball's not even making it like into my path. So he's kind of had to like swivel his body, and then his connection's kind of shite, and it just sort of muddles its way over the goal line. I thought, you know, it was other reasons I always wanted to sign Hakan Yakin. Maybe not that moment, but yeah. 3 goals in 3 games. You can't take it away from him. Euros at 30, 31 years old. Fair play.
That's an XG of 1 a game. There you go. Getting the XG in there, isn't it? Aye, there you go. But yeah, the Turkish team, they start off with quite an underwhelming display in the first game. They lose to Portugal. But then they recover and get a victory over Switzerland, winning 2-1. It sets it up nicely for a very, very memorable final group game where they're playing the Czech Republic. Now, at this point, it's probably safe to say Petr Cech was regarded as the best or one of the best goalkeepers in the world at this stage, because this is Chelsea Petr Cech, right? And he goes into meltdown mode in this game. I can remember watching this live, and I couldn't believe the mistake that he made for the second goal, because the way it pans out is Czech Republic are cruising in this game. They're 2-0 up after an hour. Turkey look dead and buried. Turkey pull 1 back, and suddenly it's getting a wee bit edgy. 15 minutes to go, they've got 1 back. And then we're about 5 or 6, it's actually the 89th minute. A cross comes in, Petr Cech comes out to deal with it, reaches up to grab it, and just drops it right at his feet. And I believe a striker named Nihat, Nihat.
Yeah, Nihat, yep.
Rolls right in front of him, and he taps it in. But as I say, at this point in time, Petr Cech he is at the peak of his powers. And it was just an absolute, really? Okay.
As soon as he put the helmet on, mate, he was never as good a goalkeeper. And a big shout out, by the way, because he obviously wants to make himself his rename heard. And Jerry Lewis, you just got blocked off the channel, mate, because he wanted to call me wee Bhoycie and Phil talking about a World Cup when Ange not got a clue. I think which I don't even think he quite got that even connotation right, because Jerry's obviously of, you know, a simpler mind than most people. But wee Jesus gets his shout out tonight. And he says we were almost beaten by some Czech pub team. I don't think he understands what a pub team is and who the team was we played. I don't think he understands how pre-season friendlies work. But I can't remember what the Sunderland Rangers score was when, you know, the lights went off, Jerry. But you keep me right on the pre-season games, big boy. And thank you for watching the Bhoycie Bus.
Hope he likes and subscribes, mate, and on his way out the door, mate.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so you were saying that Petr Cech, when he put that helmet on, you reckon he wasn't the same?
100%, mate. It's a complete mentality thing. Of course it is.
Oh, I suppose.
You put that helmet on, mate, it's because you're not comfortable in your own skin, if you like. It's a complete mental thing, and I don't think he was the same keeper after that. I really don't. Okay. I think you cannot deny when something is around you like that, it is a safety blanket.
Yeah,
you need a safety blanket is because you're not feeling as brave or as probably what it was. If I say brave, it would have came naturally before to have been brave. Whereas now, if you're overthinking it, which he clearly is by having to wear the hat, and I don't blame him. Obviously, the injury that he got was absolutely dreadful. but I think he was beginning to show flickers of doubt by then. Although I cannot deny with one thing, Phil, whilst I might why I might disagree with the fact it was peak Peter Cech. You definitely can't hear that crackling, by the way.
No, I can't hear it, mate.
So bad. Whilst it might not have been peak Peter Cech, it is a clanger all day long you still wouldn't have expected him to make.
Definitely. No doubt about it. But yeah, he basically drops the ball right in Nihat's feet and he rolls in to make it 2-2 in the 89th minute. And then they kick off, head up the park, and the ball just breaks nicely into the path of Nihat again in the 90th minute. And he bends one in around Petr Cech and it hits off the crossbar as well for bonus points on the way in. But yeah, Turkey have gone from 2-0 down, and from the 75th minute onwards have scored 3 goals to go 3-2 up and have qualified.
Give me 2 minutes, mate. Will you carry on, Phil? I'm going to leave just quickly, right?
I will try my best to carry on. I'll try my absolute
2 seconds, mate. I'm sorry, mate. I can't actually hear you now. It's getting that loud.
Okay. No worries. So now I'm out on my own, but it's a good thing I'm wearing my glasses because now I can interact with the comments as well. I can actually read them. I'm also seeing some names going up as well for the suggestions for the trivia at the start of the show. I see that Monty said Stoichkov. No, we're all about that either. It's not Stoichkov. He's not one of them. I can tell you that, Monty. But yeah, we'll just I'll just continue on then with the Turkey game, because the next round they play Croatia, and they're not very fancied again. There's a similar pattern here. It's a bit like the Greece one at Euro 2004, where despite them proving people wrong, every game they go into, it's like, no, Turkey won't do it. And they say Croatia, they're obviously a team to be taken seriously, especially after stopping England from qualifying for the tournament. How are you, Russell? Are we okay, or does it start?
It's all right, mate. It's just crackling a wee bit. I mean, it seems quieter now. I've changed the setting on one of the settings on the mic, but that was getting beyond a joke. I was like, I was struggling to hear what you were saying.
Just getting progressively worse. No, I was just moving on to the quarterfinals. So, funny enough, this is a game that I brought up somewhere in a previous episode. I think we'll talk about the golden goal before, and I was saying if the golden goal was still a thing in the 2008 years, we would get denied this unbelievable moment because they played Croatia in the quarterfinals. It's not an amazing game, to be honest. Croatia are kind of frustrated trying to break Turkey down, but as I said, you were off there briefly, like Turkey are not very fancied by anyone in this one. And say even against Croatia, this is a team that people are expected to do well after beating England in the qualifiers. But it goes to the 119th minute of extra time, and Klasnic scores one where the ball breaks out wide to Modric. He stops it for going for a goal kick, and the Turkish goalkeeper gets caught off his line. And Modric crosses the ball in. Goalkeeper's nowhere to be seen, and Klasnic heads into the near post. 119th minute. Croatia are going mental. You get that classic moment you get in all tournaments. You only see this in tournaments. You never see this in like regular like club football, where all the subs and the manager all come running down the sideline and pile on and the corner flag and stuff like that. They'll just go mental because they're like, we've won this game. 119th minute in extra time, we are going through. But no, amazingly, Turkey kick off, and within a minute, a guy called Semih, S-E-M-I-H, scores the equaliser in the 120th minute to send the game into penalties. And then Croatia have an absolute meltdown in the penalty shootout. They end up losing. Modric even misses one of the penalties along the way.
I was going to say.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, Turkey are through into the semi-finals. So it's not the first semi-final that they've reached, but there's a bit of consensus as well with a lot of footballers that the Euros is harder to win than the World Cup because the quality of teams at the Euros can be harder than the World Cup because UEFA is usually regarded as the strongest out of all of the governing bodies or the continents basically. And Semih sends him to the semi. There you go.
Hey, you got a semi. Send Semi to the semi.
So Turkey, I say they've got the semi-final in 2002 World Cup, and now they've got to a semi-final Euro 2008, but they will be playing Germany, but we'll touch on with that one later because we'll be focusing on Germany in a wee while. And then over in Group D, with Russia, what they're up to, they were drawn in with Spain, Sweden, and the holders, Greece. Yeah, that's right. Greece are the holders going into this tournament.
Of course.
But they have an absolute shocker. Their tournament, Greece finished bottom of the group. They've been sussed by this point. But yeah, Russia are smashed 4-1 by Spain in the opening game, but they recover with a 1-0 win over the Greeks. And then they get they beat Sweden to go through in second place behind Spain. In the quarterfinals, though, they come up against the absolute wrecking machine that is the Netherlands. And again, you're like, The way Holland have just played, beating France, Italy, Romania, coming through that group, no chance of Russia going through here. Pavlyuchenko, though, puts them ahead, and they're leading until the 87th minute. And Ruud van Nistelrooy scores a diving header at the back post to take it to extra time. And then sensationally in extra time, Russia score another 2 and dump the Netherlands out of the tournament. Absolute shockwaves at this point, because again, the way Holland have played, 9 points out of 9, who they've beat already, you're like, well, that's it. They've got to be the team that will go on and win it. But no, second Euros in a row where what you thought was going to happen just didn't at all. Just absolute upset. But yeah, mental. And this is when Arshavin scores. I think it's the third goal. There's the shush celebration, which I put on the thumbnail. But yeah, there's that image of Arshavin, because he was the other one that he played for Zenit, obviously, in that UEFA Cup final we talked about. But yeah, this Russia team, they proved that they're no mugs. They've beaten Holland that night.
Absolutely. And I mean, Pavlyuchenko scoring the big occasion. Van Nistelrooy at this point, the veteran forward for Holland, you would say.
Yeah.
He's now, I just think, what a crazy good finisher Ruud van Nistelrooy was. It was a joke. Hopefully you can still hear me all right, by the way.
Yeah, you're fine, mate. Yeah, you're loud and clear, mate.
Van Nistelrooy again on the big occasion as well. So ice cold with these finishes. Doesn't matter the minute of the match, the occasion, the pressure that you're under. He was always there with these sort of types of goals throughout his career. And Arshavin became he was much of an enigma, Phil. I think Arshavin, one of those players that on the big occasion at times looked an absolutely unplayable player. Yeah. But as we found consistently in English football, he was found wanting a wee bit. I'm not sure what that's about, but he was a wee bit, wasn't he?
The only thing that I think he's ever remembered for is the 4 goals at Anfield, and he runs away doing that celebration with the 4 fingers up, and it's like, the 4 goals at Anfield, which I think wasn't long after he signed for Arsenal, because he signed for Arsenal in a January window. It was a mid-season window, and I think it's the one coming up at the end of 2008. I think it is. It's not long after that they go to Anfield and draw 4-4, and that's like his big moment. But then after that, any good moments he had for Arsenal were just few and far between. They really were. It just kind of never really came to much, because, by all accounts, he looked like a really gifted talent, but just never. It wasn't to be at all. And by the way, I saw Larsson's name get mentioned there, because you mentioned this in the last show that Larsson was at Euro 2008. I had no recollection that Larsson was at Euro 08.
He started every game.
Yes, that's every game, because when I was watching the goals back, I was like, oh, there he is, because I guess it's because he didn't score at this tournament for some reason. He does
a beautiful assist for Zlatan.
He does.
When Zlatan scores his first ever goal at a tournament. And see, to be honest, I think Zlatan should have stepped up more by now.
It's not his first goal at a tournament. He scored at Euro 2004. Remember the back heel volley against Italy?
Of course.
Aye.
So why did they say that? The commentator said it's his first goal at a national tournament. You're absolutely right, though.
Yeah, he scored the
he does. Oh, no, 100%. Yeah, no, you're right. We discussed it. Anyway. He does
commentators
say
talking shite.
Aye. But I also remember watching as I say, I always support Sweden at these things. I remember on ITV, they've got a Northern Irish guy who does the co-coms. What is his name? Or maybe Republic.
Is it Jerry Armstrong? He was always on Sky's Spanish coverage. When you've Jim Beglin. It's Jim Beglin.
Jim Beglin.
Yeah, Jim Beglin. ITV.
Him
and Peter Drury.
Did not like him.
Okay.
Didn't like him. And he describes Larsson at one point as the old man. During the game.
Dare you?
Oh, I was fuming. I remember being raging at the time. Raging at the time. Again, this is one of the rare games I did watch. I actually know when I watched it. It was in Bannockburn. I remember leaving the house I was in watching it. And I described him as the old man. And it was like a needless dig, though.
Yeah.
Larsson at this point is 36.
Well, that's not. No, I mean, look at Ronaldo. You've said it before. If Ronaldo coming into this World Cup here scores and he's 37, going to be 38, and early next year, nobody will bat an eyelid at it. It's like some players can just go longer. I mean, look at Zlatan. Zlatan's 41. He's still playing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And if Sweden had qualified, he'd be up front.
Aye, exactly. Yes, he retired from football and he came back. Aye,
but
old man. Shocking.
Henrik played. That Jim Beglin said that, but he'd had a couple of pops throughout the game. I can't believe they said something. I can't believe it's still the same strike force that they used 4 years ago that they're still relying on now. And then it was like needless, but it was like, I can't remember the exact moment of play, but nothing's happened, right? And he goes, oh, it's the Swedish attack comes to nothing. And there was Larsson there, and then he's just like the old man at the end. I'm like, what did you just say about Henrik? Swear to God, I'll come through that telly right now.
Oh no, you can't be insulting Henrik Larsson, man. You can't be doing that at all. So if Larsson's an old man, what does that make Zlatan now? What does he say about him? I bet he doesn't. If he was asked his comments right now, he won't say that. I don't know. I've got a funny feeling. Was Jim Beglin not like associated with Liverpool in his playing career?
I've never heard of him, and I'm sure Henrik's never heard of him either.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously Henrik had a spell at Man United as well within the year. So I wonder maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on from that one. But yeah, we've got Russia and Turkey have now made it through to the semi-finals, where Turkey will be playing Germany and Russia will be playing Spain in the semi-finals. So now we'll go on and concentrate on those two teams. So let's take a look at Germany first and foremost, and how they've done. Because we have talked about Germany in the last few tournaments where they've gone through a bit of a restructuring period, to say the fruits of the labour, where 2000 they decided after a defeat to Scotland in a friendly that they were just going to rip everything up and start again. So yes, Scotland did set Germany over the edge. We did tip them to the brink where they decided, no, this isn't working. We need to change our approach. And they began, finding all sorts of new players that were eligible to play for Germany, similar to what countries like France do, where, citizenship and so forth, really going for that. At the end of the day, if they're eligible to play for you, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why, especially with like France gets so much flack about it. It's like, that's what it is, man. That's what you got to do. You're allowed to do these things. Unless FIFA say it's not allowed, then there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, Germany have gone down a more cosmopolitan route. And now in this tournament, we've got Joachim Low taking over because Jurgen Klinsmann has departed, I believe. Did he go straight to the USA job, or did he take some time out and then take the USA? Because it seems such a bizarre move. Other than money reasons, you would do that. Why would you leave your...
I'm sure it was a plan, though.
Oh, right, okay.
That Jurgen Klinsmann was always leaving, and Joachim Low was always taking over for Klinsmann at a certain time.
Okay.
I think that was time-stamped.
Ah, right, okay.
So I think Klinsmann was always leaving at a set time, and it was like the Sorcerer and the Apprentice sort of thing, and Joachim Low was always taking over in whatever year it was he took over. He was always taking over then.
Right,
that
okay.
Was the natural progression. I'm sure that's right, Phil.
Right, okay. That sounds about right.
Will be like, he's fucking at it, he's making it up. But no, I'm sure that's right.
It may very well be.
That's right.
I say it does seem a bit strange if you were just to leave the country that you're born in and you're managing and you go to the USA. I say, other than money reasons, can't think of much other motivation to do it. But yeah, this German team, I say the new blood is starting to come through now. You're starting to see this talent. Guys who aren't full-blooded Germans are now in the team. You've got Mario Gomez, who's got Spanish citizenship. Miroslav Klose, we've talked about him already. Him and Podolski, they're Polish. Kevin Karanje is Hungarian-German. David Ndonka is Ghanaian. And there's also some great up-and-coming talent in the team, like Bastian Schweinsteiger, Philip Lahm, and believe it or not, Per Mertesacker is an upcoming talent at this point, because I was associated Per Mertesacker with the later part of his career, but yeah, he's only in his early 20s at this point, as is Peter Trakowski. Plus, you've got the veterans like Torsten Frings, Oliver Neuville, and Michael Ballack, who is the captain of this team. So there's a real good mix there in this German
fucking
side.
Rolls Royce at this point, no, Ballack.
Yeah, Ballack's
one of those
phenomenal.
folk who's just strolling about, mate. Like one of these players, you start realizing as you get older, right? A lot of these guys that are elite. I mean, like stupid good. It's particularly in midfield. They seem to play football at their own pace.
Yeah.
So the match can be going at any fucking pace you want. It could be end-to-end action. And yet, if you watch Ballack for 5 minutes, or just watch him, every time he's getting the ball, there's dead calm, and he's got 10 yards of space, and no one's pressing him. And how is that? How is it they do that, Phil? Like, how do
play with
they
a
do
brain?
that?
Play with a brain, mate.
It's so cool. He's imperious at this point, I think, Ballack. He's done his 2 seasons at Chelsea by now?
He is at Chelsea. Yeah, and he's still there for another couple more seasons, I think.
He's excellent there anyway, but he's 2 seasons deep in the English Premier League, but he is now. He scores at this tournament, I think it was his 37th goal in a German kit. Now, just for context, guys, Kenny Dalglish is Scotland's record goal scorer with 30.
Wow.
Michael Ballack's not even a guy you would say was playing like a number 10 role for Germany. And he has 37 goals for his country. At this point.
He's a blueprint, I would say, along with Frank Lampard for being the number 8 guy, the box-to-box midfielder, the guy that gets into the box with the late runs to get on the end of crosses, stuff like that. Ballack has got that about him as well. See, Lampard was great at Paul Scholes too, before he got late in his career when he began to move back the way and stuff. In fact, it happens with most midfielders where the older they get in their career, they start to sort of move back the way into defensive mid. But at this point in their careers, they are like the quintessential like box-to-box midfielder, the classic.
I've got a quick confession to make as well. I just had a dragon soup that I didn't enjoy.
Oh, that's not good.
First time that's ever happened. Pink lemonade flavour. I don't recommend it, guys.
No, there you go. You heard it for the man himself, and he loves the dragon soup. So there you go. Pink lemonade. Don't touch it, guys. Now, here's something unique that you don't usually see in international football. Because nowadays in club football, you've got a lot of, especially in the social media day and age, there's a lot of hashtag respect and stuff like that, right? All that type of, you see tweets and that. Well, you see a player score against his former club and he'll be like, nope, no celebration. Lukas Podolski scores twice against Poland, and given that he's Polish, doesn't celebrate. Alpha Boric is in goal, by the way, for
yes, I knew that.
For Poland. And one of the goals that Podolski scores, I don't think 2 goalkeepers would have a chance of saving it. He absolutely busts the net with it.
What did we talk about last week?
What's that?
What did we say about Podolski last week? He has a certain type of goal.
Aye.
He just scores. That's what he scores. These rockets, mate. Underside of the bar. He must hit underside of the bar a bit in his career more than any other player.
Oh, he's the second goal in this one. He just volleys it like, and he's like 12 yards out. He just gives Boric no chance, absolutely no chance.
So many of his goals over his career, just him rifling it hard. Mental.
Also, when I checked the lineups for this game, Zudaski's playing, but he's not playing as a striker. He's playing as like a number 10, like a attacking midfielder. So he's dropping back a wee bit. But Zudaski was in the Poland team. But yeah, when I watched the highlights of this one, it's something that you don't really see in international football. Podolski, when he scores both, he's like, no celebration. And then I was like, of course. He's Polish born. So yeah, it's very, very rare to come across that.
I don't like that though.
I know. I'm not a big fan, especially in the club football stuff. You're getting paid. This is your new club that you play for. This whole, I think the first one that I can remember that happening with was Carlos Tevez. I think Tevez done it when he scored for Man City against West Ham, if I remember right. And he was the first one that I saw being like, no. In contrast, when you compare Emmanuel Adebayor, his teammate in Manchester City, when he scored against Arsenal, and he ran the whole length of the park to knee slide right in front of the Arsenal fans. Jesus. The contrast.
Love it.
Aye. Let's say what a contrast for the two. But yeah, so Germany roll on and actually lose their next group game. They get beat by Croatia. Croatia ended up beating them 2-1. Yeah, so Germany, as I say, they are coming into their own, but yeah, they still don't have a perfect group stage here. It sets them up, though, for the last group game against Austria. They have to win, basically get through. Michael Ballack pops up with the winning goal to send them through to the next round. It's not an outstanding group stage by Germany, but they've done enough to get through. That's what the Germans normally are. They're notorious for going into tournaments. But then in the second round or in the quarterfinals and the semi-final, they have 2 of the best games of the tournament. They win both of them 3-2. They defeat Portugal 3-2. And then in the semi-final, they come against underdogs Turkey in a last-minute goal from Philip Lahm after Turkey had equalised late on. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? But not this time. Turkey would be denied. Germany got up the park in the 90th minute, and Philip Lahm scores the goal that sends Germany through to the European Championship final. But yeah, it was after a kind of so-so group stage, Germany just come to life, and they just really throw defending out the window as well and just go gung-ho. And their 2-3-2 victories would follow. But quite exciting times for Germany. When you watch them here, you're like, yeah, they're like coming into their own now. You can see it.
Yeah, Philip Lahm's definitely now becoming a real presence in their team. He does go from hero to villain in the final, though, and I know we'll talk about that because he, for a player that looks so good, he is made to look so average. Podolski was a live wire.
Schweinsteiger, I felt, came into his own here. I know this is his. He's really influential.
At this point, as well. Nothing like the guy that Man United signed.
No, miles off it, man. But at this point, Schweinsteiger is an exciting. I think he's playing as a wide.
When he signed for United.
He did. He did.
That's almost the exact same hairdo.
But I'm pretty sure Schweinsteiger's playing as a wide midfielder at this point. I'm only basing this on FIFA because on one of the icon cards you get in Ultimate Team, there's a Schweinsteiger card that is a winger, a right midfielder.
Wow.
So in his early career, when he still had the legs for it, he was getting up and down the wing, mate. He was an attacking wide midfielder.
Okay.
Yeah, he was indeed, aye. But yeah, so Germany are through to the final. The first final since the 2002 World Cup, but this time compared to that one, and we spoke about this when we did the 02 Bustalgia, that one felt a bit out of place. Maybe Germany benefited for the luck of the draw, but in this one, they do feel like it's justified that they should be there. To say they're getting better with every tournament after ripping everything up and starting again. And it's the first Euros final since 1996 where they've won it in England. But yeah, their opponents for this one, it's a bit of a surprise overall when you think about it, because for as long as me and Russell have been watching football at this point, Spain are the choke artists. They're the ones that go to the major tournament. They've got all the talent in the world. Amazing league. La Liga's a very strong league. You know, the club teams are normally competing for the top-end UEFA prizes, but Spain just never, ever seem to get it done when it matters most. Now, a common misconception about this, because again, I said at the start of this show about things all seem to blend into one for this run of Spanish dominance. A thing you've got to remember is this is not a Vicente Del Bosque team. A lot of people think Del Bosque was the manager for all three of them. This is Luis Aragonés that's the manager for this Spanish team, which often gets forgotten about.
Who was he in charge of before that?
I don't know what clubs he was at, but all I can tell you about Aragonés is he was caught up in quite a scandalous racial row. When he took over the job in 2004, somehow he survived this job, survived this moment. He was caught, like a microphone picked him up on the training ground saying some derogatory comments about Thierry Henry to Jose Antonio Reyes, his Arsenal teammate. He said some unsavoury things, try to use it to motivate Reyes to basically play better. But Aragonés was the manager of this Spanish team. It's not Del Bosque. He takes over for the 2010 World Cup and subsequent tournaments that follow. It's one of these things that always gets forgotten about, and that might explain why this Spanish team is a little bit different from the ones that followed. Might explain
They are a wee bit. For me, though, it's the beginning of the end, Phil.
Beginning of the end. Do you want to talk about that at the final, or do you want to talk about that the now, or
whatever you want, mate? Sorry, whatever you want.
No. We'll save it for the final as a sort of overall opinions to it. We'll do that because I'm really interested to pick your brain on that, because when you said that earlier on PMP, I was like, I think me and Russell might be in the same wavelength here on this one. I like it. So we'll get into that when we dissect the final. But this Spanish team have got a lot of young talent coming through who, freakishly enough, are already established at their clubs. It's not like Theo Walcott getting picked at the 2006 World Cup when he's just coming along for a jolly. Oh no, you've got Fabregas, Sergio Ramos, David Silva, Raul Albiol, Santi Cazorla, Andres Iniesta, and Fernando Torres are all under 24 in this squad, and it's like, oh, wow, this is exciting. And I say it's pre-Del Bosque, it's pre-Tiki Taka, it's two up front. There's no false nines in this team, no Fabregas playing as a false nine. They've got the two guys in the background that you can see behind us, David Villa and Fernando Torres, as a very exciting and very explosive front two. So they're in Group D, as we've touched already, with Russia, Greece, and Sweden. They get 3 victories out of 3. They smashed Russia 4-1. They beat Sweden 2-1, and they beat Greece 2-1. So Spain have
in the last minute.
They did. It was Villa that scored.
Villa last minute, mate.
Scraped through because Ibra equalises in that game, doesn't he? Ibra gets a goal there as well. He does. But yeah, they got through 9 points out of 9. The only other team that did that was the Dutch. They got 9 out of 9 as well. But yeah, so Spain have quite a stern test waiting for them though, and again, you're just waiting for Spain to just mess it up because that's what they do. Quarterfinals though, they draw Italy, and it's like a big right. If Spain can get through this, given how exciting they've looked at the group stages, and maybe, just maybe, this might be their time. I say the Italians are up against them, the savviest players of the game. It ends 0-0, but Spain get a penalty shootout victory over them, and suddenly, especially with Holland getting beat by Russia, you're like, oh, the coast might be clear here, by the way. Something could be on here. So Spain then blow Russia away in the semi-finals. They played them in the opening game. They played them again in the semi-final. They beat them 3-0, and they're through to their first final since the 1984 European Championships. They won the tournament in 1964 when it was very, very different times.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a long, long time coming. But without a doubt, a very, very exciting team to watch, given how their group stage went. And I say they've came through some stern tests and the knockout stages. But yeah, it's all set up for the final, which we'll get on in a few minutes. Germany against Spain. Russell, your memories of when that came out as the final draw. Were you excited? Ready for it?
Yeah, man. I think it's at that point in time. I think it's the two teams that have probably got the most exciting groups. I think the German one, I would say, is probably slightly ahead in terms of maturity. I think their group had really kind of came at the fore at the World Cup 2006. That's when you're seeing the introduction of Schweinsteiger, Podolski, Lamb. They were now. This is now their second tournament. This is now them getting into their stride for people trying to put us down, talking about my generation. This is now Germany's time, and Spain are probably that 2 years behind with their group. It's probably very similar in terms of quality, if not a wee bit more flair in Spain's unit. But you're beginning to see these names as a collective from this tournament on, not so much the World Cup 2006, where obviously the Germans had made such a great dent in that tournament as well. I think the Germans, you would be saying, would be favourites.
I would have said so as well, because again, you've always got that thought in the back of your head about, Spain, they've been looking good, but you just know that they're going to choke here. Something's going to they're just not going to get it done because they've got a reputation. But Germany, even when they don't play well, they still get the job done. And it's like, you think
evolution as well, though, mate. Evolution.
Yeah.
The nations are. Everyone's going through different phases. Every single international team goes through. You get a group, and you go, right, that's the group we're going to build it around. And there's a youth element to each international squad, and there tends to be a veteran element that are right. The torch is being handed down, and I think Germany's new, vibrant, fresh team came out 2006, 2008. For me, they looked more ready to win a tournament than what Spain's did. But Spain's football team was maybe just a wee bit more punk, just that wee bit more vibrant, maybe that wee bit more imaginative, but didn't have the experience to call on of 2 years ago as a group. I'm sure there's examples of plenty of the players have played together before for Spain, but I just, in my mind anyway, and you can only go by your own memories of it. I think for me that German team was beginning to have a wee bit more familiarity to it. You went, this is now our next, as we're growing up as well, Phil. This is now, so like that is Bierhoff and all that. They're all long gone now, right? And that era's done. It's now it is the Philip Lahm, Schweinsteiger, Podolski. That is like, this is now they're closer still, obviously. He's like, but this is now their team. Spain, you're thinking this could be the Spain team we go watch for the next few years. They're quite exciting. But the Germans are probably just that wee bit more ready-made to put hands on a trophy.
Street smart might be the word that we're looking for as well. Germany, I say, they're just savvy. They know how to get it done. I say it's a whole new world because Germany have only been in a final just a few years ago at this point in time. Spain, been a long time since they've been in a final. So, it's a big test for them. But before we go into the final, obviously, we do our favourite game and favourite goal. So, my favourite game, I just loved the Netherlands blowing France away 4-1 in the group stages again, because it just felt like the return of total football. And plus, Raymond Domenech is a bit of a tool. So, fuck that guy. But,
I know what you mean.
Coit, Van Persie, Robin, and Schneider all scored the goals. Thierry Henry got one back for France. But I say it was such a... Like, with that game, when you're going into it as a neutral, you're like, very little to call. I don't know, maybe a 2-1 victory. To see a team take the other one apart 4-1, it was like, Jesus. It didn't feel too dissimilar to when England beat Germany 5-1 a few years before, where it's like, whoa, where did that come from? But I can remember that very, very well. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. See, Holland were the entertainers at this tournament, but all came unstuck in the second round. And my favourite goal, you've mentioned it already, but I absolutely loved this when I watched it again. I loved Zlatan Ibrahimovic's goal against Greece, the wee layoff from Henrik Larsson. And Zlatan connects with...
Henrik thinks to go to the left. He's going one way, but he's actually flicking it round the corner the other way. It's very, very clever how he does it. Because he doesn't actually pass the ball either. He just shapes his foot
Yep.
So the ball's like the pace that was already on the ball running into Larson. He's just angled around, but he's actually taking his body the other way. So the defenders giving Zlatan that wee bit of room. It's just Henrik at his best. That's what I always say. You know, as he was getting older, he became such a rounded footballer. So like wee things like that are so clever. Leave the young guy to do the execution and the strike by Zlatan's fucking phenomenal. Let's be honest.
Oh,
it looks like a top on at first glance, so doesn't it?
It does, but when you see the view from behind them and it follows the trajectory of the ball, it's a fucking rocket right in the top corner across the face of the goalkeeper. Yeah, I love that goal. Of course, Henrik's involved in it because I think this is Henrik's last tournament officially. So farewell, thy king. It's been a phenomenal run covering Bustalgia and Henrik. And it's pretty much intertwined with every episode, pretty much.
It has been, and it's his third international retirement.
Third, so he came out a few times to retiring, coming back out of retirement.
Henrik's a bit naughty with Sweden, right?
Yeah, Zlatan's done the same, isn't he? Zlatan's done the exact same thing.
Look at Henrik's goal return for Sweden. I think we spoke about it one of the Bustalgias. I'd expected it to be higher than what it was.
Okay.
And the reason it isn't is because he didn't play the qualifying campaigns. Just wait to see if they'd qualify. It's sort of come out of retirement for the tournament. And then the players that obviously got them there, the one or two of them would get dropped.
Okay.
Twice. He definitely retired for international football after Euro 2004. But I am sure he briefly retired from international football after, believe this or not, the World Cup 2002.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, positive, mate.
Still at his prime
so
at that point.
I am convinced that Euro 2004, he's not even signed for Barcelona yet. He's retiring for international football. But I am positive this is his third international retirement.
Oh, wow. Okay. That now rings a bell. I can remember there being stories about that. Wow. Okay. Could have been a lot more
just
then.
Fancy the qualifiers, mate, towards the end.
That's it. See, Zlatan's done the exact same thing. He's came out of retirement a few times as well. But yeah, Sweden, I say that was my favourite goal. Russell, any goals and games stand out for you at this tournament? That you can...
The game's got to be as I say when I was doing my homework, got to be totally honest, I just feel that the Turkey comeback. The Turkey comeback 2-0 down.
Yeah.
2-0 down, 3-2 is a joke. And I actually quite like it. See, when you look back at these teams, you've got to admire the Turkish sort of spirit that those teams always seem to have. Whilst very rarely there's that many names that you go household name. You know, I think maybe when we look back at the 2002 World Cup, you thought of Hakan Suker and you thought of maybe Bashtuk, but that's only because of Celtic links, really. But
Hassan Sass, remember him?
Hassan Sass,
Hassan Sass,
the bald guy. Yeah. I don't know. 1973. But
there you go.
But I would definitely say with this Turkish side at the Euro 2008, you're struggling, but it's a team. It's a team. Apart from the goalie, Rustu. You would remember Rustu right there. But apart from that, they were just a team, but they've got that right fighting spirit, man. And again, by the way, see if they're not as strong or on paper one of your elite footballing nations, Phil. You know, it's 2 semi-finals in the space of 6 years, big boy.
That's true. It's when you actually look at it like that.
Brilliant record.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's easily forgotten again because, especially the 2002 one, it was all about South Korea in that third place playoff because of the controversy around them getting there. But yeah, the Turkey do kind of get overlooked. But yeah, it's a good record in the end when you look at it. And what's the 2010 World Cup? I'm not even sure if they're there. But no, they were definitely I'd say a different team effort. No massive stars to get them there. But yeah, the Nihat and Semi up front, SMEIH, say they got them all the way through to the semis, ironically enough. But yeah, that's the sort of favourite goal roundup. So Russell, the final, mate. Here we go. It's Spain against Germany. They're going to play in Vienna, Austria. So at this point, Germany are 3 times Euro winners, having won it in 1972, 1980, and 1996. And Spain haven't won it since 1964. That was the last time they won it, when the tournament was a very, very different format where only 4 teams competed in it at the final stage. It was basically a nationwide sort of like campaign, and then when it got down to the final 4, one of the countries that's in the final 4 would be designated to be the host, and they would go and play So turned out Spain were actually picked. And that's what the format. It changed to 8 teams, 2 groups of 4 in 1980. And then it went to 16 in 1996, which I think 16 was the sweet spot. It was fine. Obviously, 24 has allowed Scotland maybe to get a back door in, as we've shown. But I hate when third place teams can go through and try to work out what the next round's going to be and stuff like that. It's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah, no, 24. It'll get increased to 32 in a few years' time. Because money in the end will prevail here in this one. But yeah, that's the way the formats went. So so Spain haven't won it since the days when it was 4 teams. But yeah, it's a quite star-studded final. So I've got the 2 lineups here. So Germany line up with Lehmann. Lehmann is still in goals at this point. Friedrich, Mertesacker, Metzelder, Lam, Frings, Hitzelsberger, Schweinsteiger, Ballack, Podolski, and Klose. Spain lineup: Casillas, Ramos, Marchena, Puyol, Capdevila, Marcos Senna, remember him? Iniesta, Xavi, Fabregas, David Silva, and Fernando Torres. David Villa missed the final because he got injured against Russia in the semi-final. So I was looking at the lineups. I was like,
that's why Fabregas starts.
That's why Fabregas starts. It is indeed. Because I thought Spain played 2 up front the entire tournament, and I was like, where's David Villa in the final? He's nowhere to be seen. He's got an injury. He got injured against Russia. Gotcha. He did indeed. But yeah, the final kicks off, and they say our idea.
Can I tell you my two eye openers with the lineups?
Go ahead.
So Germany, we spoke about this last week. Fucking disgrace Jens Lehmann's in goals for them. Nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough to be their goalkeeper. They've got this hip new generation coming through. Let Ballack be the veteran. They have to have a better goalkeeper by now. They just have to. Jens Lehmann, if you actually look at the tournament, costs goals.
He does.
He costs goals, mate, throughout the tournament. There's near post clangers. There's one that hits a bar, which is came off him and then hit a post, and then he's making a bit of an arse of himself, and he's doing it in that real arrogant way that he tends to do. So you've got zero sympathy for him, even though he's sometimes you would look at a veteran and go, oh, it's a shame that they fall for grace. He does it in such an arrogant way that you kind of watch and go, do you know what? You shouldn't be there anymore. You should have known to retire. I think he's a big problem in that lineup for me. He is someone that I admit that it's only one goal and we can get to the goal in a moment or two. But for me, Lehmann would be a confidence booster for your opposition. Right?
Yeah.
When it comes to Spain, standout player in that lineup is Senna. Again,
Marcos Senna.
New kids on the block. I'm glad you noticed that. He played for Villarreal against Celtic.
He did in the season coming up.
2004 No,
he played against us for Villarreal in the next season. He played against us in one you're talking about, yes.
No, 4-1 as well.
Aye, but it's coming up. We're going to play Villarreal in the 2008-2009 season. He's still playing for Villarreal there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's 31, 32, but he's a Brazilian born midfielder.
Yes.
Senna.
Yes.
And then he's changed nationality. I think it was at 28, 29 he got his first cap for Spain. But he's suddenly been one of these players that have appeared, later on in their career, and is just an absolute belter of a player in the midfield, Phil. I just think a real class act, and I think he brought that calmness, that experience that the rock and roll Spain players needed, because we know it was all going to get boring 2 years later.
Yes, it will indeed. Yes, so to get to that one. So the game itself pans out completely different from what me and Russell thought. We talked about going into it. You'd felt that Germany were probably the favourites. Spain were really electrifying to watch. You thought Germany, they're savvy. They know how to get a tournament won. It doesn't go that at all. I watched the highlights back the other day in preparation for this. It is a domination from Spain.
It is.
They had the post in the first half. Jens Lehmann has to pull out a few good saves, but the only goal comes midway through the first half. A delicious through ball from Xavi, I've come accustomed to over the next few years. Fernando Torres runs in behind the defence, gets on the end of it. Jens Lehmann comes with his goal, dives at his feet, and makes it quite easy for Torres to pick his spot because you've gave him pretty much the whole goal to aim at, and he just nicely dinks it over him into the net, and it's 1-0 to Spain. Second half, Lehmann again has to try and keep the score down. Again, Spain hit the woodwork. Germany, they barely have a chance in the game. I think there's like one snapshot from Ballack or something like that in the second half that just skims by the post, but Germany flat to deceive. Spain, they went on, won the tournament 1-0, and thoroughly deserved. Russell, what's your opinions on that final, mate?
Well, for me, it was the beginning of football that I didn't really like, if I'm honest with you. I think that the crop for Spain that are coming out right now, Barcelona, are obviously about to become the dominant side in Europe, and their style is imminently about to be adopted by a Spain team that, see, when you look at these guys, right, a lot of them, I know Puyol, maybe to people younger than us, looked like a rock and roll hard man footballer, and that. I mean, I thought Puyol was, I don't know. He was all right.
Not a fan of Big Puyol, no.
Mate, if he was Italian, mate, he would never have got a cap, in my opinion. I don't think he was anywhere near the level of his counterparts that were Italian at that time. Just my opinion, of course. He obviously went on.
It's all about opinions, mate.
He achieved a hell of a lot. But in this next couple of years that come, these Spain players go on to, I don't know, bore the life and out of teams. And I suppose you're right. It's before the Del Bosque era. And whilst you've still got a Fernando Torres at 23, 24 years old, you know, playing fearlessly, they still have an element of surprise about them, an element of excitement. But I would say that team was a bit of a false dawn, because what they go on to do, no, I don't mean in terms of achievement, but in terms of a watch, they become devoid of this character that they might have had in this final. And I know they only won 1-0, but they've got a lot of character. I feel like Torres encapsulates that. You know, he plays so freely, so off the cuff. He roughed up defense. I remember he had Vidic crying for his dinner and all that. You know what I mean? Like his dinner, his nanny. You know what I mean? Like when he was not even his nanny, crying for his mammy when they played against Man United. Yeah. But Torres actually does something very similar to Philip Lam with that goal. I don't know if I know your analysis is that he's made a run in behind. He's actually kind of not quite in behind. Philip Lam doesn't know how to deal with him. Torres goes, feints to go on the inside, then goes on the out, and has the pace and the strength that when Lam's kind of turning to try and block him, just kind of shrugs him off, mate. Philip Lam actually gets made to look a wee bit average. He does. Watch the goal.
I never picked up on it. I never even picked
Torres
up on that.
Does done it because the thing is, I mean, there's no shame in it. I mean, Torres for a few years spell does this to teams. He made Spain a very exciting team at that point. The Iniesta, Xavi, pass to me, pass to you, pass to me, pass to you stuff. I found it, you know, whilst I know they're geniuses, right? I found it a bit fucking boring. And we might get to that if we do another one next week, Phil, and we do the 2010 World Cup, because for me, that is very much the beginning of the end of my sort of interest. I would say with this tournament as well, Spain win it. They herald a new era of footballer. I think when we look back at the tournaments that we've covered so far on Bustalgia, I do believe that real lead role characters are now beginning to diminish. They're fewer and further between. I think it's now becoming a more technical sport. Everything's becoming about teamwork, team player. Don't lift your head above the parapet. Be part of the parapet. And if 11 guys have their head just on the parapet or right at then we'll win. Whereas before, we were looking at tournaments where you knew there was guys. Some teams were always going to be a blend of basic ability but good spirit, and then real maverick ability but maybe not the most fitness. Whereas now we're entering, I think, the era now, Phil, that we see in the modern day, which is all about living your best life, being a complete consummate professional at all times, being a team player, having the best technique in the world to play a passing game. And you start losing those sort of those moments. And some of the guys that we've had the pleasure of speaking about over the last 5-6 weeks, Phil, now, I think are going to become teams that we speak about more, you know, as opposed to the individuals. Would Davos Shukra be getting much airtime, mate, at the Euro 2008? Probably not yet. A World Cup 98, only 10 years prior to that. He's the top scorer. You know, it's crazy. I think, you know, it all becomes a game of pace, power, teamwork, strategy, and you know, I think it killed it for me a wee bit, if I'm honest. I mean, I don't get the same buzz for an international tournament as what I did. Obviously, I'm older now, so it'd be silly if I was getting the same buzz as a fucking kid, right? But at the same
I know what you
time,
mean. Yeah.
at the same time, I still, when I look back at the tournaments, then I don't think it's just a complete nostalgia thing.
Yep.
I look at the way the teams played, and I don't know, it appeals to me a wee bit more. I think we're entering another phase of football from Euro 2008. Was maybe the first sign of that.
It was. Now, I'm really, really glad that you've said all of that, because we're definitely on the same wavelength here. Because I thought for the longest time I was the only person that felt this way, because there's an unwritten rule when you're a Celtic fan that, see this club here, Barcelona, it feels like you're not allowed to say anything bad about Barcelona when you're a Celtic fan, because there's a real like camaraderie between the two clubs, right? Now, obviously,
is there a camaraderie?
Well,
a camaraderie between the two clubs?
Well, it seems to be the
us
ethos.
Them?
Well, maybe. I've heard.
I don't think that much about us.
I think you're right on that one. To be fair, I do. I think
we're clinging on to that one. I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil. Sorry,
but as Russell alluded to, this is coming into an era where the Tiki Taka football's coming. And Vicente Del Bosque, when he took over, he pretty much had a team, half Real Madrid squad. I think it was like 5 Real Madrid players, 5 Barcelona players, and David Silva, who was at Man City. That was essentially the starting lineup for Spain going forward in the next few years, right? And they played pretty much Barcelona's system. And the weird thing was, looking back, I can remember my mindset at that time where I actually quite was impressed by Tiki Taka, but I felt there was a huge contrast between Barcelona's and Spain's. And for a while, I couldn't put a finger on what the difference was, because the 2010 World Cup you alluded to was like washing paint dry at times. They win
them.
Right. They win every one of their knockout games at the 2010 World Cup 1-0 and strangle their opponents at the game. It took me ages to figure it out, then I realised Lionel Messi is the difference. Barcelona would play the same little triangles of play. They would pass the ball to Messi. He would beat 4 or 5 players on his own and score a wonder goal. And you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Spain didn't have that. What Spain ended up doing in the next few tournaments is guys like Fabregas being deployed as a false 9. The old fake centre forward and stuff like that, because they would have Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta on the park, and Torres was out for him because this was going to be Chelsea. Torres, who is not scoring many goals, and they had Fabregas deployed as like auxiliary centre forward in games. But I found the whole Spanish Tiki Taka to be really drab to watch, and I'm glad I'm not the only fan, especially in the Celtic fan community, that thinks that, because it goes back to what I said, and you were right to call me out about my subconscious about that one about 2004, where we talk about anti-football and I associate it with Rangers, and it's like, can't say that about Barcelona and Tiki Taka. Oh no, but it's like that Spanish team, like especially, I'm not a big fan of it. This Spanish team that wins the 2008 Euros, I liked because they were very dynamic, quick, exciting. 2 players up front, 2 natural strikers. Great tandem between David Villa and Fernando Torres. Brilliant to watch. But no, I'm not a huge fan.
MT thinks it's the best Tiki Taka, for fuck's sake, best team ever in the modern day.
Well, Barcelona or Spain, though? What's he talking about? Who's Tiki Taka? Spain or Barcelona?
Let's say it is Barcelona. Record points total. Record goals tally in La Liga ever goes against that team. That Tiki Taka Barcelona team for his second to a guy that you would portray as a negative manager. Anti-football we were talking about the other week, Phil.
Yep,
Jose Mourinho. He scored the record amount of La Liga goals, the record amount of La Liga points against that very Tiki Taka Barcelona team. So you need to do your homework sometimes and have a look past all the headlines and past all the bullshit. And sometimes you might be surprised at what you find.
I mean, what might MT saying there? Like, it is good, but actually, there's a huge difference between Barca's and Spain's. Like, Barca have got that Lionel Messi factor. He is unbelievable, and you can kind of forget the 20 or so passes of little triangles of play that have came before it, because Messi would just do something spectacular. But Spain just strangled teams out of games, and honestly, and I know they've got the trophies to show for it. It worked. It was successful. But the 2010 World Cup is not one I look back on fondly. It was tough to sit
We'll
through.
get
But
there, mate. We will get there.
well, yeah, we will at some point, I would imagine. But yeah, in the end, Spain pick up the trophy. They've won 1-0. Iker Casillas, fun fact, becomes the first and still to this day the only goalkeeper captain to lift the European Championships, and he would lift it again in 2012. Quite an interesting one, Casillas being captain, given some of the characters that were in these squads, with like, you know, Puyol and Ramos. But Casillas, you know, captain for Real Madrid at the time as well, and captain for Spain. But yeah, they pick up the first of what will be 3 trophies on the bounce. As well as to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this Spanish team, but yeah, less said about the future ones, the better. But Russell, we were talking about some trivia at the start. Right, now, I'm going to say this. If you don't look at the comments, because I do think that Mr. Cameron has definitely been Googling it, mate, because he's been spouting out. Yeah.
No, he won't have, mate.
Yeah. So if you want to guess some without looking at the comments, Russell, that would be great.
I've been jotting ideas down.
Okay, cool.
We will go with Scott Cameron's first one. I want to give Scott the benefit of the doubt. I'm just surprised he knew that Guerra's exact age, a Hungary midfielder. But if he did, do you know what? Fair play to that man. And Scott is always welcome on the bus, as he knows. And I hope he's enjoyed the show tonight, my man. So we're going to say Zoltan Guerra.
Zoltan Guerra's correct. 2016. I was at that game in person and saw that goal with my own eyes.
And I think you mentioned that on the bus, by the way.
I mentioned I've been at Euro 2016, but
I'm sure someone's mentioned Guerra scoring at a Euros in the bus. Bustalgia. It's came up before as Zoltan Guerra scoring.
Well, he is one. He is the third oldest.
I've got the comments off, by the way, so I'm going to go for another one. I'm going to go Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, Ronaldo last year scored at 36 years old in 138 days.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6.
Yep, you've got 1, 2 on my list. 4 left to get, correct?
Yes. Okay. James Milner.
No.
Okay, he was a penalty shootout. I've got the next 2 I've got are, it could be one or the other, hopefully both in my case, because they are a bit of a pair. Chiellini.
No.
Bonucci.
Bonucci just misses out. He's 34. I looked at the list. He's like 13th or 14th on the list, but he's just outside the top 10. Bonucci, you've just missed out on. So,
I've got Hierro.
No, Fernando Hierro, no.
See, I thought he scored. I knew he was at 96, but was he not taking the penalties at another tournament?
But he would have still
Euro
been
2000.
He's not in the top 10 in this one. No, he's not that old at that point.
He was one of those folk that just seemed old to me, you know. Monty had suggested Davor Suker.
No, not Davor Suker. No.
I didn't think so. No. I didn't think so. Does I have anyone else down? No, I've got no one else written down, mate. Okay. I've got no one else. Shall we open up the comments?
Okay. You can do, yeah. We'll take some comments and see what people are saying.
Right, guess this name has been featuring a lot. Gareth McCauley.
I saw Scott Cameron post that one as well. Gareth McCauley is a correct answer. He scored for Northern Ireland against the Ukraine at Euro 2016.
Scott is telling you, no way, no chance, guys. So we will trust Scott.
Okay. 100%. Okay. I'll take it to VAR, mate. I'll take that one to VAR. But yeah, Gareth McCauley is correct.
He's getting wound up now. We don't want to wind up. No, it's absolutely fine. Scott, I believe you, mate. If you've not checked.
Yeah, we're just having a bubble. Having a bubble, mate, as you say in the football factory.
Charles Smith says Hadji.
No.
No, Panucci was right, Patrick. I'd said Panucci. That was one of my first guesses.
Panucci's 10th in the list. He's 35 years old in 63 days. Yeah, you did, aye.
There was another one that came in Karagunis.
Yes, Karagunis is 8th on the list. He is 35 and 103 days. You mentioned Karagunis in the Euro 4-1, how he was like the talisman, you know?
Yeah. Because Karagunis is Euro 2004, he was only 27.
Yep, but the 2012 Euros he scores for Greece and he's 35 and 103 days at that point. So you've got 2 left to get, and you've definitely heard of them.
Right, okay. I've got the comments up now, so I'm not going to say that these are my guesses. I've got the comments up, but it's good. Patrick McLaughlin, Shevchenko.
Yeah, Shevchenko is correct. I was going to give you a clue and say, see the colours you're wearing right now. They're synonymous
like
with this guy.
Yes.
Shevchenko was 35 years old in 256 days when he scored at Euro 2012. Yes. So the one that you've no got is the second on the list behind Vastic.
So I'm gonna read, because I've read Patrick's already. It'd be lying if I hadn't, if I said I hadn't read it. Pandev.
It is Pandev. Yes.
So I had a feeling when you said it, 'cause I know his age.
Championships he scored for North Macedonia.
I remember him. Yes, Goran Pandev. Bit of a maverick as well.
To recap the list from top to bottom, we've got Ivan Vastic. He's the oldest. Then it's Pandev, Zoltan Gira, Gareth McCauley, Cristiano Ronaldo, Luka Modric, Andrei Shevchenko, Georgios Karagounis, Jan Koller, and Christian Panucci is the top 10 oldest goal scorers in European Championship history.
Done.
There you go. Yeah, done. Now
we did all right. It was a good team effort.
That was indeed. Now next week's Bustalgia, you've been alluding to, you spoke earlier on PMP to Liam about the plans going forward. You mentioned it. So this is what we're going to do next week. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't really want to talk about the 2010 World Cup, to be honest, Russell. I really don't. So this is what we're going to do, because me and Russell have talked about this before. This was an idea, and I know, Russell, you weren't a big fan of the idea of jumping ahead with the Euros one. We're going to do one more tournament one, but it's going to be with a twist. We're going to do Phil's European Championship diary next week. I'm going to tell you all about my mad adventure at Euro 2016 next week. And of course, we'll touch on things at the tournament. But I was at Euro 2016 in France, and I went to 5 different games, 3 different cities. I was there for the entire group stages, 2 weeks. I've got a lot of Celtic related stories as well, because we wore our Celtic shirts at many of the games we went to, and we felt like rock stars because we got stopped for pictures so much during that. It was incredible, the experience. But we'll do that as a special, and then we'll go on to the Celtic one the week after, because then that'll be the just before the first weekend of the new season.
Fair.
That seems fair. We'll do that then. So because I don't want.
Is there any data boys this week? Just so I know before my heart.
No, that was it, because it was involving age. Remember, I said at the start we were going to. Plus, you got your 5 last week. You've completed it, mate. Completed it.
Thank God. As long as that's fine. Just my heart rate was still quite high, mate. So that means I can calm down.
But so next week we'll talk about Euro 2016. But I know it's not an amazing tournament overall, but obviously what I can tell you is about some of the absolute mad shenanigans that went on in that tournament. I think it'll be quite an enjoyable, quite a box office episode, I would say. And then I say the week after that, we will do the first episode of Bustalgia Celtic Years, which will be the 2007-2008 season. I will need to get my panel together for that one. I've got Liam, obviously, he's going to be on, and I will find
Liam Greenlaw is going to be huge on this, mate.
He will be. Lots of stories to get from that man. Yeah, lots of stories. So yeah, that wraps up Bustalgia for tonight. So Russell, anything else you want to tell the viewers tonight of what's coming up?
Loads coming up, absolutely loads. As you know, we did a double header. I feel like it's my part-time job sometimes, but I love it.
Yeah, it's good, man.
I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if I'm not enjoying myself, you know. Bye. We have got the TNF tomorrow night. Conor McCann and David Logue joining. Friday's a quiet day. Saturday, fill your keys. You're going to be doing post-match pish with another 2 or 3 of the regular bus passengers. I'm going to be sitting watching with a couple of cans. And basically what that's all about, I don't want it to be any misconceptions. It's not about me just sitting back and doing fuck all. Someone had put in the comments, I had to delete it, Phil, because he says, I'm noticing it creeping in more and more. Bhoycie doing less and less, but still raking it in. I don't think folk understand, Phil, how YouTube works and ad revenue works. But actually, what we're trying to do is get diverse opinions on it and give guys like Phil, chances to do what he's always wanted to do, and that's feature heavily in a podcast and actually get to host some more than what you would get anywhere else. So I think that's pretty cool. Phil's going to be doing the PMP on Saturday after the latest pre-season friendly at Parkhead. Then we go into Sunday and we've got 2 shows again. And of course, the 2 shows will be the Sunday Blether with Regan Stevenson, joined by regular guest Mark Kearney. Dale, I think, is looking to go on to that as well. And then at night, you'll be sick of the sight of Phil, but he's back, and it's Dale's new series that is going to be happening at the very least monthly. It might end up ramped up a wee bit more than that. But Dale's My Celtic Story, which he's brought over from the Celtic Supporters podcast. It was a huge coup for us to get Dale to bring his series over to us and to be a bus regular. And he's actually going to go around the contributors you see on the Bhoycie bus and do each week, or it's not going to be each week, but every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, he is going to be going round the bus contributors, starting with Phil on Sunday evening. And Phil's going to be telling his Celtic story. You know, we're talking about favourite players, how you got into Celtic, lineups. There's going to be loads, and it gives all you viewers a chance to get to know the guys that you're going to become familiar with over the course of the season as well. So Sunday, 2 shows, Phil. Saturday, a post-match pish. I don't even feature the weekend, mate. 3 episodes, mate. I'm going to be watching for the Saturdays. I'll be chomping at the bit by the time the Monday Club comes back round. I will be ready to stake my claim back for a regular place in the first 11, mate.
Mate, I'm all over it this week. My God, I totally forgot about that. So I'm doing Saturday post-match pish. You'll need to show me the ropes of how to operate StreamYard and stuff, but we can get that done before then. And yeah, I'm on Sunday night speaking to Dale, doing My Celtic Story, which I'm looking really forward to, because I think I've got quite a lot of stories to tell there on that one. My Celtic Story, definitely do. So I think that'll be a thoroughly enjoyable episode. But yeah, so next week we'll do Phil's Euro 2016 diary and some of the madness that happened in that 2 weeks of my life. Crazy. And we'll talk about the football as well. But 2016 is quite an interesting year. By the way, I've seen this in the comments. What is it? This couch behind me?
No.
Something keeps talking about my left arm.
Keep looking.
Right.
Look at the screen. Look at the graphic.
Oh, so it is. Aye. People kept saying about my left arm, and I was like, "What is it? This couch behind me or something? What is it?" Aye.
Look. It looks like
Fernando Torres. Aye. I'm actually tattoo-less, by the way. I don't have anything on my arms at all. But yeah, it does. It's very well lined up, isn't it? Aye, so it is. I've seen it a few times, and I was looking at going, "Is it that? Like, what's going on here?" Right now, I get it. Now, yeah, very good, guys. But yeah, see, that's us then for this week, boys. It's been a pleasure again, and we shall.
Thank you, mate.
I'll be back on Saturday, so I will see you all then for PMP.
You're back Saturday, Sunday. You're back plenty, mate. All
over the shop, mate. All over the gaff. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in.
I'll see all you guys tomorrow for the TNF. Cheers.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.